just plain right. Well, welcome to Thursday. We like to call it Thankful Thursday because we're thankful. We got plenty to be thankful for. Hit it, man.
You got to be more thankful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
We thank you so much for this bountiful harvest of Domino's, KFC, and the always delicious Taco Bell.
Have you said thank you once?
Thank you. I like it. Who is that, by the way, at the end yelling thank you like that?
It's Michael Scott.
Oh, it's Michael Scott.
Yes, from The Office.
From The Office.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think he's actually in there twice.
It's which real name Steve Carroll.
Yes.
So yeah. Okay. So it sounds like Gilbert Gottfried, the comedian from the '80s, which I thought he's dead, isn't he, or something?
Yeah.
Anyway,
2 Michael Scotts, 2 Trumps, and a JD Vance. And then a Ricky Bobby.
Oh yeah, you got to count the Ricky Bobby with the Taco Bell and
yes.
all of it. Hey, by the way, that voice you hear right there though is JP pushing buttons on the board. Hey man, how are you?
I'm thankful.
JP, I'm thankful for you.
Thankful as well.
I'm glad. I'm thankful
Everybody's
that you're
thankful.
thankful. We're all thankful. It's a Thankful Thursday. And we got a great show lined up for you. So you know the deal, Thankful Thursday, we usually have Butters and Lee, right? Usually. I say usually because we got to call an audible because somehow or another Butters got out of town. So Butters spending time with his kids. I don't blame him. How can you fuss with that? But nonetheless, we got to have a substitute, a proxy, somebody to stand in. So our very own Emily Jones, host of the Controversial Mom podcast, we're coming in with a segment halfway through hour number 2. And this week, we'll just call it Emily and Lee. So Emily and Lee halfway through hour number 2. And then there's still a triple dipper just filled up with stuff. So hit it, man.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right. The Triple Dipper, 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. So first out the gate, hottest story out there, Russia collusion illusion, but I'm calling it next steps. So what happens now? I mean, this narrative has gotten a little bit bigger. And guess what? Some of the folks being named are actually lawyering up. What does that tell you? The Russia collusion illusion, next steps. That's number 1 on the Triple Dipper. Number 2, listen, the left is determined to create the narrative that Trump's out there arresting just mommies and people who work with us and who take care of our needs and things. And he's not going after the criminal illegal aliens. Well, yes, he is. He really, really is. In fact, I got some amazing things to tell you about today. They just had a sweep yesterday that ended in Denver. I won't give away the number yet. Let's just say it's in the hundreds, and they all had criminal records. So there's that. I'm calling it illegal crimes. Illegal crimes, number 2 on the Triple Dipper. And then number 3, you know the deal. Every once in a while, we look around, see what's happening in our own backyard. We got to take care of what the news is where we live. You can't just be out there thinking about what's on the far side of the world or the far side of the country. You need to know what's going on in your own sphere. So that means I got to cook up a batch of home fries. So yes, indeedy, we'll have a batch of home fries. I got news from both Alabama and Tennessee that you're going to find fascinating. Home fries, number 3 on the Triple Dipper. All right, so let me move on into the opening monologue. The Rightside Way opening monologue brought to you, as always, by attorney Stan McDonald. Stan McDonald, partner at the law firm of Wilmer & Lee. He is a 30-year vet in the practice of law. He's a longtime conservative, and yep, he's your daily sponsor of the Rightside Way. And I'll tell you more about Stan here in just a few minutes. And I'm about to tell you a crazy story. It's probably one of the craziest stories I've ever told on the air. So stand by, it's coming. But let me precede it by saying, nothing good ever comes from any action that is preceded by someone saying, here, hold my beer and watch this. I mean, if somebody says, hold my beer and watch this, literally nothing good is about to happen. But as bad as that phrase is for starting something, it might be even worse to hear somebody say in the aftermath, whose idea was this? I mean, if somebody's looking around going, whose idea was this? Well, that's a phrase that's steeped in regret and bewilderment. It's a question that is usually resulting in people immediately avoiding eye contact, pointing fingers, even lawyering up. Whose idea was this? It's a question that implies that an action or a decision or an utterance was believed at one time to have held such promise, and in the aftermath is seen as a huge debacle. Everything seemed great until it wasn't. And suddenly everybody wants answers and nobody wants responsibility. And sometimes it's funny, and sometimes it absolutely isn't funny at all. And the question of whose idea was this is one that is usually also preceding some form of accountability. Someone's about to feel the wrath, or at least know the consequences of their decision making. I mean, I can think of a few things where they were just bad ideas, where someone thought a certain way and totally messed up in business. Like, how about this? 1962. Up and coming rock and roll band auditioned for the vice president of talent for Decca Records in London. He was not impressed. He told the band's manager, "We don't like your boys' sound. Groups are out. 4-piece groups with guitars particularly are finished." Well, that band was the Beatles, who went on to sell over 2 billion albums worldwide. Someone somewhere at Decca Records had to have looked around and go, whose idea was it to turn that down? Here's another one for you. 1876. I'm reaching, I know, way back there. 1876. William Orton was the president of Western Union. Western Union had the monopoly on the most advanced communications technology then available, called the telegraph. Orton was offered the patent on a new invention, the telephone. He was offered the patent on the telephone for $100,000, which is about $2 million in current money. But he considered the whole idea ridiculous. And he actually wrote to Alexander Graham Bell saying, "After careful consideration of your invention, while it is an interesting novelty, we have come to the conclusion it has no commercial possibilities. What else could this company make of an electrical toy?" An electrical toy. I hope someone on his board of directors looked around the room and said, whose idea was this? The bottom line is he was so in his own bubble, he could not see the way forward. But let me tell you the craziest story I think I've ever heard that had to end with somebody being asked, whose idea was this? It's on the funny side. It's one I'd never heard until recently. Okay, so everybody knows and loves the ancient story of Pinocchio, right? Little Pinocchio, the wooden puppet made by the lonely old craftsman Geppetto, who had always wanted a son. And the Disney classic rendition with Jiminy Cricket in a whole cast of timeless characters came out in 1940. And the premiere of the film was a really, really big deal. See, Disney had sunk a lot into making this one. And the audiences, they couldn't wait. It was an instant classic before it even hit the big screen. Pinocchio, all the fanfare, everybody's coming out. Bring your kids, it's going to be awesome. And then somebody had a great idea for the promo event at the big premiere. Somewhere, someone, somehow sold the Disney team on an idea that turned into a total goat rodeo. The summary of it is this. In 1940, Disney hired 11 little people, which were formerly known to the world as midgets, which is a word that apparently no longer is considered appropriate, so I have to now say little people. So little people. Disney hired 11 little people, and they made a boardroom decision to hire these 11 little people and dress them up in Pinocchio costumes, complete with a big heavy mask. And they put them on top of the movie marquee, way up high, to wave at the crowds who were lining up below to come to the premiere of the great new animated movie, Pinocchio. Little people dancing and cavorting in front of a gawking crowd. What could go wrong? Well, everything could go wrong. It was apparently hot that day, and the little people got hungry, and then they got mad. And somewhere around midday, somebody decided to assuage their concerns and send up some food, and for reasons that nobody can explain, they also sent up alcohol. Yep, alcohol. Whereupon the little people who were already hot and bothered got soused. Drunk little people began stripping off their costumes, like all of them, right down to their birthday suit. And then they started gambling, and then began yelling profanity down at the crowds. All inhibition was gone, as nearly a dozen little people sat up there on the movie marquee in all their naked glory, mocking innocent moviegoers mercilessly while shooting craps. And they refused to stop. No amount of pleas would assuage the angst of the angry, drunken little exhibitionists. So by mid-afternoon, it had gotten so bad, the New York Police Department had to send officers over with ladders who had to climb up, wrap them up in sheets, and take them all into custody. I mean, think about that. Whose idea was this? Who thought it would be awesome to dress up and exploit a bunch of little people as Pinocchios, leave them up on a balcony in the hot sun with wine and sandwiches for the day, and then wonder why they got drunk, mad, naked, screaming swear words? It defies logic. I mean, surely somebody had to pay for that one, wouldn't you think? Whose idea was this? A question that surely had to be followed by somebody losing their job. But you see this stuff all the time, right? I mean, decisions made in the boardroom. Who put Dylan Mulvaney on that beer can? Whose decision was this? Whose idea? Totally made in a vacuum, and totally without any consideration for the consequences, because the decision makers are so into their own bubble that they can't imagine any outcome other than the one they want. So let's keep in mind that the enemy always gets a vote in warfare, right? You can make your own plans, but the other side gets to shoot. Anytime I go to court as an attorney, I try to anticipate what the other side is actually thinking and planning. That's how it works. But decisions being made in a vacuum inside the bubble, they usually end up with someone in authority demanding to know whose idea was this. And the history of the world is replete with ridiculously bad decisions. Decisions that, once made, actually may cost someone or some company countless opportunities and boundless riches. But what about also the decisions, though, that did more than just affect property or profit margins? What about the decisions that, once they were made, had the notoriety of negatively affecting actual lives, even to the point of death, even to the point of usurping the will of the people? And that brings me to my point. You see, we're learning more right now about the infamous decision-making that led to an attempt to co-opt the duly elected first term of Donald Trump. What we're now seeing in actual documentation is that there was a true decision-making process by people who sat in their ivory towers and decided they knew best, that they and they alone knew the way forward, that surely there would be no repercussions because, they are who they are. And what we know now is something that we have long suspected but never had the ability to truly see or get to the bottom of it. And now we have the ability and the authority to ask, whose idea was this? What we know right now is that millions of tax dollars, countless barrages of biased media, the full force of the U.S. government, the jailing of innocent people, all in what became known as the Russia collusion narrative of 2016 was in fact a lie. What we know now, because Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard is publishing the documents she found, is that in 2016, all of the intelligence summaries of the day indicated that Russia had an interest in meddling with our elections, but that there was no evidence of collusion between the Russian government and the Trump campaign until after Trump was elected. Yeah. So on December 7th of 2016, 1 month after Trump won, the intel summary said there was no collusion. But on December 9th of 2016, 2 days later, President Barack Obama called in Susan Rice, the National Security Advisor, James Clapper, the Director of National Intelligence, John Brennan of the CIA, Andrew McCabe of the FBI, and John Kerry to meet about Russia. After which, all of a sudden, the memos that we are now uncovering show that Brennan went back to tell everyone in the intel community that, quote, at the direction of the president, end quote, at the direction of the president, the narrative had to be revised. And suddenly, we got the Russia collusion hoax, followed by the Mueller investigation, followed by massive media barrages and leaks, followed by congressional hearings. This went on for years, all because someone had a really bad idea and they actually decided to act on it. This is not losing money on a missed opportunity. This is not just seeing an invention that could have changed the world and you dissed it. This is not drunk, naked little people cursing at children. This is our nation's sanctity. This is the abuse of office. This is an official attempt to actually subvert the will of the people and undermine the office of the presidency. I mean, whose idea was this? It appears to have been Obama's. And we want accountability now. We do. We want to know that someone's going to be held accountable. Why am I telling you all this? I'll tell you why. Because we have a right to question. And that right to question is based not just on freedom of expression and freedom of speech. It's also based on the simple fact that history dictates that people make stupid decisions about things that negatively affect others all the time. But when they do so in their official capacity with the evil intent of undermining our governance, that, my friends, is a crime. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a guy. I'm a guy who sees that there are people who become so arrogant at times, so sure of themselves, so steeped in their own ideologies and agendas that they can apparently no longer see the outcomes of their decision-making. So what happened on December 9th of 2016 was a travesty. And now we have the receipts. And we deserve to know whose idea was this. And that's a wrap for the Rightside Way. Well, yeah, there you have it. Whose idea was this? It's a fair question. But I got to be honest with you. The lighter side of all that I just said, can you imagine? Whose idea was it to dress up a bunch of little people like Pinocchios, get them drunk and stick them up there on the top of a hot marquee? Good Lord. There's a story for the kids. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Came out just the other day. I thought it was fascinating. Some of y'all will too. Donald Trump Jr. apparently has a new business venture. He does. He just partnered with another entrepreneur to take a company public that some are calling the Amazon of guns. All right, you had me at guns. The Amazon of guns. Now, many people may not be aware that Don Jr. is actually a big gun guy. He loves to hunt. And I know for a fact that a friend of mine who has a wing shooting lodge right here in Northeast Alabama actually hosted him a couple years ago to hunt pheasant. So his company, the new company, is called Grab-A-Gun. Grabagun.com. I'm not just doing this as a sponsorship, but I'm just telling you what it is. Grabagun.com. They sell ammunition, firearms accessories, all on a website. He said that he considers himself a political refugee from New York, now living in the free state of Florida. And he felt like when he got to return to the New York Stock Exchange to take a firearms company public, it was like a full circle opportunity to repudiate gun policies and wokeisms that have stifled the Second Amendment and gun dealers in general. Check out their platform. It's pretty cool. I have looked at it myself, and I am already finding myself telling me to keep the credit card in the pocket. But look, one article that I read on the public offering of Grab-A-Gun said, quote, after years of gun companies being deplatformed and debanked, Trump Jr. said that his investment group's involvement with Grab-A-Gun is what he called a catalyst for change in an era where there's been a cultural shift in attitudes toward the Second Amendment. And I agree with that. I think woke world hates guns. Woke world absolutely hates guns. But the idea that a new gun company is going to deliver to people's houses, yeah, it's already driving the left nuts. You can search and you can quickly find headlines crowing on the left-leaning outlets like CNBC and Daily Beast and Bloomberg and Newswork and Reuters and all of them, saying that, well, his stock offering is fizzling. He didn't raise as many millions in his first 24 hours as he could have. Oh, okay. You know what the bottom line is? Libs don't understand guns. They don't understand them at all. They're a mystery. They can't even describe them well. They don't know what to do with them. They operate under the belief that the gun by itself is the danger, not the person who actually wields it. But really, if you get down to it, especially when it comes to firearms, liberals are just so predictable. One of the few absolutes in life is the predictable outcome of any shooting incident when liberals believe that gun control is what is needed. They will bellow it from the highest hilltops. It's gun control that we need, not enforcing criminal laws. The Second Amendment is outdated, they say, or in President Biden's words, not absolute. And that it was the gun itself that caused the crisis, not the criminal. Meanwhile, the inference is that all of us who are gun owners are somehow complicit in the crime that occurred if, in fact, we believe in the right to bear arms. Well, by that same rationale, I guess, I suppose that all car owners are complicit if a drunk driver causes an accident. One did it. Aren't they all guilty? All knife owners are complicit if a knife is used in a crime. Or here's my favorite. The game of baseball should be banned and all baseball players, young and old, should be held accountable if a baseball bat ever finds its way into a crime scene. These are ridiculous arguments based on a fallacious reasoning by simple minds who cannot grasp that accountability and punishment for bad actors should be confined to the level of criminal culpability of the actual accused, not to society as a whole. In short, gun control is a lazy man's argument in the aftermath of a shooting tragedy. But I will say this, some of the gun control proponents do provide some comedy relief. Gun control proponents, I mean, when is the gun control lobby going to start giving lessons to its members on how to actually talk about guns or not talk about them for that matter? I mean, think about it. If you're going to try and talk bad about something, shouldn't you be able to actually describe what it is? I mean, do you know why I don't try to spend time talking about geosynchronous orbit of satellites? Because I'm not a rocket scientist. I don't try to tell a physician what dosage to prescribe for medication. I have no clue, and I know it though. So why then do liberals continue to provide us with comic relief by talking about guns with such fervor when it's painfully obvious they have no idea what they're talking about? I don't have a good answer for that very good question, but I do have some examples. It's hilarious. Like the time when Senator Dianne Feinstein, bless her heart, said, quote, we have federal regulations and state laws that prohibit hunting ducks with more than 3 rounds, and yet it's legal to hunt humans with 15 round, 30 round, even 150 round magazines. All right. I don't know where it's actually legal to hunt humans, but I also question the veracity of your arguments and especially the 150 round magazines. She's also, by the way, the person who said that the Clinton era assault weapons ban didn't go far enough. Or how about then Vice President Joe Biden, who believes strongly in deterrence by means of a shotgun? He said a few years back, well, you know, my shotgun will do better for you than your AR-15 because you want to keep someone away from your house. You just fire the shotgun through the door. Well, okay. He went on to say that rifles can blast through walls and then hurt somebody. And we are back. Bill Williams, Rightside Radio, celebrating started in just plain right. Just only like, man, maybe a show, one bite at a time. Oh, that is, by the way, I'm thankful for you, JP. I'm thankful. So we are thankful right now for the life of Hulk Hogan, who just passed away. Like the news is broke right as I'm coming on the air. 71 years old, and that was his intro song, right? That was his.
Oh yeah, one of the greatest.
Was that his walkout song?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, did he have pyrotechnics and all that as he did it? Or?
That was pre-pyrotechnic time. That was the raw OG walkout, throwing it up, and that's all you know.
That's slapping the guns. That's right.
Yeah.
All right, well, wow. So yeah, Hulk Hogan just passed away. He did lead an incredible life, and I still remember distinctly. I worked at the Madison Twin Theater in the Parkway City Mall, the old Parkway City Mall in Huntsville, and we had Rocky III. And I can't tell you how long Rocky III played, and that's the one where he played Thunderlips.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they made him out to be like he was 7'4", you know.
Yeah.
That's because Sly Stallone is really not that tall, so it works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a loss of a personality. Plus, most recently, last year, he was ripping his shirt off on stage at Trump rallies.
Oh yeah, it's one of the best. Him speaking at the RNC, where he said, "When they took a shot at my hero, started ripping his shirt." You remember that? He was on the stage right after Trump just got shot, and it was one of the best. I think that was a speech right before Trump came on.
I think, it wasn't it him and then Dana White?
Yeah, I think Dana White.
Yeah, and then Dana White. Yeah, that was pretty epic. But how did he pass away? Was it a heart attack?
Heart attack.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. His heart's been through some strain. You got to imagine.
I would
steroid use.
I would say. Yeah.
You told me something about him though right before the show.
Yeah, just recently before he passed away, he actually got baptized.
So he accepted Christ and got baptized. Wow, that is really cool. I saw a picture on the screen of who was at the baptizing?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, it was just recently, not too long ago.
That's pretty awesome. I know he had personal life issues at times, but we serve a loving, forgiving God, so I'm glad to hear it. Either way, there's a MAGA man who is now on to MAGA lands. That's pretty amazing. All right, we'll come right back, including tell you about Attorney Stan McDonald here in a minute. Bill Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. I'm talking about now. So intruders who get in, I'm thinking Shotgun Joe's never actually loaded the 12 gauge with double-aught buck or slugs. I'm just saying. Then there was Representative Diana DeGette. Representative Diana DeGette, Democrat from Colorado, had a humdinger. Try to follow this. She said, quote, "If you ban them in the future, the number of these high-capacity magazines is going to decrease dramatically over time because bullets will have been shot and there won't be any more left." I don't even know what that means. I guess she's saying that if we reduce the number of magazines, there's going to be fewer bullets. I don't know. But I do know that where she's from, they have recreational marijuana, so there's that. Perhaps my favorite, though, of all time comes from Democrat New York Assemblywoman Patricia Eddington, who was apparently under the impression that we now have miniature heat-seeking missiles being fired at deer. Go with me here. She said this, and I'm quoting directly. She said, "Some of these bullets, as you saw, have an incendiary device on the tip of it, which is a heat-seeking device. So you don't shoot deer with a bullet that size. If you do, you'll cook it all at the same time." That's her comment. I did not make that up. So apparently no need to field dress that buck. You just shoot it with a heat-seeking bullet and serve it up hot right there in the field. Look, in the end, I could spend my entire 3-hour show today giving you constant streaming examples of liberals pretending they know something about firearms, but they don't. And they embarrass themselves when they pretend otherwise. But that's really not their aim, though, is it? The bottom line in the gun control debate is that I may not be a rocket scientist or a surgeon or a rocket surgeon for that matter, but even still, the various aspects of those professions and what they can do can be regulated out of existence if politicians want to go down that road. But the right to possess firearms is actually protected under the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, a distinction that makes the various attempts to exert control of the ownership and use of firearms even far more nefarious and egregious. It's like saying, I believe in God, but I don't believe that all the Bible's accurate. No, it doesn't work that way. You believe or you don't. I believe in everything but Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. I'm sorry. If you don't believe Genesis 1:1, then why don't you just go ahead and pause and think about whether you believe about the rest of it? What I'm saying is the Constitution's that way. If you don't like the Second Amendment, you don't get to discard it. It's part of the whole. It all goes together. So likewise, when you choose to selectively abridge just one constitutional right, like the Second Amendment in this case, our basic liberties, then you have in fact called them all into question. You see, rights are either inviolable or they're not, period. That's why it's called a right. Congressman Chip Roy said it well in a gun control hearing. He said, quote, Democrats' push for stricter gun control laws is actually about their war against traditional American culture. It's not about protecting citizens from gun violence. I think he's right. The fact here is, he said, it's really about the left's culture war against gun owning and supporting America. That's what it's about. He concluded those comments, by the way, in the face of a bill that would apply some real knee-jerk restrictions to gun ownership. He said this in the end of his comments. He said, in order to tell the American people a lie that the government will protect them, half of this committee I'm sitting on is willing to take away a citizen's God-given right to protect himself or herself from harm, and importantly, from the very tyranny being applied to them to deny the right. And there you have it. These arguments, y'all, they're often inane, they're often ridiculous, they're full of hyperbole. They clearly show that in a rush to speak and act and legislate without even understanding the facts or even the capabilities of a firearm, that the gun control mob, they don't really care about firearms. If they did, they would at the very least present a cogent factual statement instead of embarrassing themselves by talking about something that makes no sense. Now, instead, they're really intent on creating control. That's what they want. They want control. The weakening of liberties embedded in our Constitution and more political firepower for themselves, if you'll excuse the pun. And they don't care how they get there, even if it takes a 150-round magazine of shotgun shells with a barrel shroud. Live free or die, right? Side ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. I mean, this one, y'all, it goes from like Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I'm talking about all the way down to that lovely little village on the plains that we call Auburn, straight across the line to what we call now again Fort Benning. And then big old patches of North Georgia and Mississippi all thrown in just for good measure. And that's just radio. Then there's all y'all out there in the whole wide world going to the World Wide Web, watching us live stream the show daily. You can see right inside the studio, watching us live stream the show on places like X and Rumble and YouTube and Facebook. And, oh, by the way, our website, rightsidemedia.org. And then there's you podcasters who catch it after the fact. Bottom line is this. I say it multiple times per show for the very reason of making sure that I identify that we know where all of you are. We can see you out there on our numbers, and we appreciate you more than you could possibly know. You're the reason why we do it. I gotta back up. I was so busy talking about Hulk Hogan that I have not talked about our friend and sponsor of the Right Side Way, attorney Stan McDonald. So yes, indeedy, Stan McDonald, partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee, a 30-year veteran in the practice of law. Listen, not only is Stan the kind of guy who will fight for your legal needs, but I know him personally. He has been in the mix, in the fray, in the trenches, if you will, on all the conservative policies and politics that right side ruffians care about. I mean, the man's an OG ruffian from way back. So yeah, Stan McDonald. He has represented his clients in literally thousands of real estate transactions. He can stand up for you in any local, state, or federal court. I like to say if Stan McDonald is on your side, you're going to have no greater friend. Likewise, your adversaries would have no greater foe. So indeed, if you need an attorney in North Alabama, let me tell you how to reach him. You ready? I'm going to give you his phone number. Stan McDonald, the law firm's Wilmer and Lee, his number is 256-479-3020. That's Stan McDonald, 256-479-3020. Tell him you heard about it on Right Side Radio. And representation made the quality legal stories we perform is great. The quality legal stories. Oh, man.
Almost.
I got tongue-tied right at the end. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers, allegedly. Although I wouldn't advertise a bad lawyer on my show, and I like Stan McDonald personally. How do you like that? Did I make up for it?
That's good. That's a 10.
Let me get some text because the text lines are indeed open. Text it or call it 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. So Dave from Capshaw says, I guess you heard about Hulk Hogan. Yes, I did. We just talked about that. He said, I'm not saying I actually met Hulk Hogan, but back around 1990, I was standing near my gate. I saw him in passing from my flight at DFW, and it looked like everyone was staring in my direction. I turned to see what everyone was looking at. And within arm's length, I was staring at this muscular stomach. And as I slowly looked up, I saw that it was Hulk Hogan eating a hot dog, looking down at me with a look that said, don't bother me, I'm eating. I just smiled, didn't say anything to him. He was all muscle, no fat, very tall, 6'7". At the time, he looked taller than that to me. They say he lost 3 inches in height from his surgeries and his age. Wow. How about that? 6'7". Was he 6'7"? I think he was. Yeah. He's a big dude. Did he ever play football?
No. Yeah, Hulk Hogan. Yep, he was 6'7". One of the greatest sports culture moments, or I mean, not just sports culture, but pop culture moments, was him slamming Andre the Giant, who was
monstrous.
Like the crowd pop just from that was nobody could believe anybody could even pick Andre the Giant up. But then he hit him with his leg dropping one. That I've seen that video today. It's one of the
greatest.
Screen
a moment ago.
It's one of the greatest, culture videos, pop culture videos.
Andre the
ever.
Giant. Look him up. How big was he? Wasn't he like 7'6"?
7'4".
7'4".
Yep.
But he had to have weighed close to 400 pounds.
Andre the Giant weight 520.
What?
520 pounds.
The fact that he could move around like that at 520 pounds.
Oh yeah, one of the greatest athletes ever. Just from being able to be that big and perform like he did. Yes. He was,
by the way, if you ever read stories about Andre the Giant, he ate like he looked like he would.
Oh, and he drank like he did.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He drank like a big Russian. Let's put it that way. David at Bucky says, Phil, another great monologue. I look forward to him each day. Thank you, sir. He said, even if I have to listen to the podcast. Well, I appreciate that more than you know. He says, please be in prayer for our daughter, Lori, as she is undergoing back surgery, as you enlighten, entertain, and educate us. Well, you know what then? I am praying right now in the name of Jesus that Lori's surgery goes perfect, the doctors be skillful beyond their norm, and you let us know how it goes. In Jesus' name, amen. So David at Bucky's, thank you, brother, for letting us know. Jack from Huntsville says, my parents retired to Tarpon Springs, Florida, and they knew Terry Bollea, the hoaxer, and said he was absolutely the nicest guy you could meet. I wasn't a fan of wrestling back in its heyday, but I couldn't help but notice amazingly talented athletes these guys are. An incredible combination of world-class weightlifter and Olympic gymnast with an incredible ability to perform and synchronize with your wrestling partners. Rest in peace, Hulk. Jack, thanks. That's very cool. And it's very cool that your parents knew him. If you have any other personal stories about it, I'd love to hear them. Merle from Huntsville says, I have a 6th grade education and I can cipher pretty good. But if I had to write a monologue as good as yours every day, I'd go hungry. He says, kudos to you. Love your show. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. It's a labor of love. I was just talking to somebody yesterday about putting them into a book. I know I've said that multiple times, but I've got about 200 of them ready to be put into a book now. And so maybe one day that'll happen. Thanks, Merle. Appreciate you. Scott from Russellville says, part of the problems of our country has been cheating for far too long has been dealing with for far too long is the likes of Obama and Biden and Hitlery feeling and acting like they were above the law. I just totally mangled his text. Let me back up and pretend that didn't happen. Hey, look, a text from Scott from Russellville. It says part of the problems of our country has been dealing with for far too long is the likes of Obama and Biden and Hitlery feeling and acting like they're above the law. Okay, there, I did it. No representation made. The quality of legal service being performed is great.
I have to say, I've never heard the Hitlery before.
That is actually pretty novel. I've never heard that either. But I rather like it.
It's something.
John from Harvest says, Phil, your Pinocchio story was a laugh out loud hoot. On the other hand, Obama's conspiracy to undermine the duly elected president is not. We need handcuffs and actual sentences now. Totally get you. Thank you, John. Appreciate you. JT Lacey Springs says, whose idea was it? Reminds me of Les Nessman on WKRP to toss turkeys from a rooftop. As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. Have you heard that one?
Yeah, but remember Thanksgiving?
Oh, Thanksgiving, we
played
did that.
clip. Yeah.
Yes, we did.
But I didn't know before that. No.
On WKRP in Cincinnati. All right. So, yeah, he says, reminds me of Les Nessman on WKRP to toss turkeys from a rooftop. Also, maybe Obama may Obama be held accountable for actions, or does he get immunity? All right. That's going to be my whole first dipper. So stand by. And then John from Huntsville says, Phil, fantastic monologue. Also, did you hear the sad news about Hulk Hogan? Yes, I did. Thank you, John. And then he says, did you hear the incredibly touching story of an Iowa baby, though, who holds the Guinness record for being born as the most premature baby at 133 days premature? Wow. Wait a minute. I got to do the math. 133 days. That's 4 months. That's over 4 months premature. Good Lord. Just turned 1-year-old today, doing very well. Well, that's outstanding. John, it's Thankful Thursday, so that fits. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
By the way, we have a Rumble comment here that says, wearing a hat indoors, Phil, what would your mother say?
My mother would say, I like your hat. That's what she would say. I'm not in uniform. I can do this. I'm also, typically in uniform under arms is when you wear a hat inside. But let's just go ahead and assume. All right. By the way, there's another breaking story. I don't know much about this. JP, tell me what you know. It's being reported that the ladies of The View are going on some type of a hiatus.
They are.
Stop it.
They are. So I think they said they got one more show tomorrow, and then they're going on a break. I haven't seen.
Like how long of a break?
That's what I don't think they've specified how long.
So
they may not know how long.
Stephen Colbert, now The View. Are we seeing finally the comeuppance of vitriol being given its due?
You know what my prediction is that they're telling them that they're just taking a break, because I think they knew if they told them their show was getting canceled, they would have a fit come apart on the air. So what they're going to do is, we're just going to give y'all a brief break. Let's, for whatever reason. And then eventually they just cancel it altogether.
I like the way you think.
That's 100% what's happening.
You're rather diabolical.
Look, can you imagine the show that they would have after they were told that their show was getting canceled? It would be the worst TV ever produced ever.
Well, yeah, because they are some of the worst. I will say this. My CNN appearance last week, the lady who sat next to me was Anna Navarro of the View. She also told me, though, while they were sitting there, that she was actually didn't tell me, she told the group using, profanity-laced statements during the break because, like a drill sergeant. But she was talking about how she was helping Whoopi with the pilot for a new show. So perhaps they all saw it coming and they began making their plans to do other things.
Yeah, probably.
The world in which they live is not treating that show great. I mean, they have their following, but Lord, they have so worn it out. I mean, that show is so jaded.
My conservative grandmother used to watch The View every day before it turned political. And now look at it. It's just like
you're talking about my stepmama.
No, not yet. My mom's mom.
Oh, your mom's mom. Okay.
She used to watch it every day. I remember because I get so annoyed. She would take over the TV, and I was like, "This show's so stupid." But at least it wasn't as bad as it is now.
No. Was that back when Rosie O'Donnell was on it?
That was when I was 2010s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So maybe we're seeing the comeuppance in TV right now for the far left radical hate baiters like Stephen Colbert just the other day. I mean, I'm looking now. All right, when's Jimmy Kimmel coming out? I mean, when does this mean that is this like the Dylan Mulvaney "we're sorry" moment right now that we're in?
No, I think is they know that nobody watches that junk and they're making a business decision. I will say Jimmy Kimmel is bad. I think Jimmy Fallon could survive it. I think Jimmy Fallon is fairly unpolitical, although I think he's a liberal, obviously.
Is Conan still on?
Yes. And actually, I think I told this to you off air yesterday. I think Conan's another one. Conan, in my opinion, is hilarious. And at least I could be wrong, but I feel like he doesn't bring in any politics into his show.
I thought
feel
he did.
It's still pretty. I could be wrong, but I think him and Fallon may survive this. But no, the rest are toast, I would say.
Wow.
Kimmel's next.
Well, we'll see. All right. We'll see. All right. We're taking a break. We'll come right back. Dipper number 1. I'm putting it on tap right now. Russia collusion illusion. What are the next steps? That's Dipper number 1 here on a Thankful Thursday. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. I'm in Dipper number 1. I'm calling it The Commies Are Coming. And The Commies Are Coming, I took that title. I will go ahead and give credit where credit's due, right off of an article on the top of townhall.com. Dateline yesterday. Townhall.com, piece written by Mark Lewis. The title of it is The Commies Are Coming. And he gives you a thought-provoking series of reasons why you might think so. So I'm going to go into in a minute talking about some of the candidates and the different politicos that are out there and the things they're saying in the Democrat circles right now. But let me just do this. I'm going to do what Mark Lewis did in his article. I'm going to give you a series of quotes that are attributed to Karl Marx himself. And I want you to tell me if you have pictured this happening through Democrat liberal leftist means over the last, I don't know, call it the last 4 years. How about that? You can go back the last 10 years if you want to. But I mean, I guarantee you when I read some of these out, some of y'all are going to absolutely be able to picture when it happened. Like here's the first one. Quote from Karl Marx. My object is to dethrone God and destroy capitalism. Think about where our economy's been. Think about the fact that God has been thrown out of the public square. Think about the fact that liberals don't want you to pray in schools. They don't want you to have Bibles in schools. They don't want you to be able to pray in front of an abortion clinic. You certainly can't do that. That's wrong. And destroy capitalism? How about government price controls? How about destroying the free market? How about 40-year inflation highs? Think about it. I'm going without notes here. I'm just telling you things that I can remember right off the top of my head. How about number 2? Take away a nation's heritage and they are more easily persuaded. Oh, really? You know, there was a time in my life when, as the TV went off at night, it played the national anthem. Gone are the days. Now what you're looking at is starting with things like kneeling on the football field and all that kind of stuff when the national anthem's playing. You can go down to things like the 1619 Project. You can think about critical race theory. You can think about claims that we are systemically racist as a nation. You could talk about, you know, the different privileges and intersectionalities and destroying people, and then getting mad when the American flag flies, but they want the rainbow flag to be painted on the streets. I mean, go think through what you've seen over the last few years. Take away a nation's heritage, and they are more easily persuaded. How about this one? The education of all children from the moment they can get along without a mother's care shall be in state institutions. Well, that's easy to find. The liberal left hates private schools and they hate school choice. They don't want parents to have a say. They want to know for a fact that they've got control of the narrative that your kids hear every day in the state-funded institution. And that's absolutely a quote from Karl Marx. How about this one? The meaning of peace is the absence of opposition to socialism. The meaning of peace is the absence of opposition to socialism. The absence of opposition to socialism. Think about the summer of love, the riots, the things we put up with, the lawfare, the absolute chaos that we saw over the last few years, the disruption of civil society during COVID, and how the left would do things like demand that you close your churches and not sit on beaches by yourself or you could be arrested, while they would go off to, you know, have fancy dinners without their masks on. Certain businesses declared non-essential, and then other ones, okay, you can run those. How about this one? A heavy or progressive or graduated income tax is necessary for the proper development of communism. Quote from Karl Marx. Have you ever met a Democrat who didn't like taxes? Unfortunately, you've probably met a few Republicans that way too. How about this one? Communism abolishes eternal truths. It abolishes all religion, all morality. Instead of constituting them on a daily basis, it therefore acts in contradiction to all past historical experience. I mean, y'all, I could go on and on. But these are quotes from the actual guy, Karl Marx. This is the founder of true Marxist communism. And yet what we're looking at right now is you've got people like this Zohran Mamdani, who's running to be the mayor of one of the biggest cities in the world, New York City, who espouses the exact same things. I mean, he espouses things like, oh, let's get rid of private property. He espouses the idea of government price controls and destroying the free market. He espouses these things. Well, I got a piece here also from Town Hall. Town Hall was killing it when I was researching this issue. Town Hall, Dateline about 4 days ago. A Quinnipiac University poll revealed that congressional Democrats, that's just, you know, up on the Hill, congressional Democrats have a minuscule 19% approval rating. Whew, that's like non-existent. Earlier in the week, a Harvard Capps-Harris poll similarly found that the party, Democrat Party as a whole, has an approval rating of just 40%. So they're sucking wind right now in public opinion. So, but the problem for Democrats is structural. It requires a rethink, a reboot. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower. All right, so the first dipper of the day, the Russia collusion illusion next steps. Where are we? What is new? What has happened in the last 24 hours? Well, there are some things. So we've talked about this once already this week. It's not often that I have a storyline that I want to run with more than once in a week. Sometimes, though, the stories get so big and then they begin to kind of expand that you have to just keep going to keep up. And this is the case with this one. I will also tell you that I believe the story has legs. All right, I do. This one, there are times when things come out and they're sensationalized in the media, both left and right. All right, there's times when things come out and you look at it and go, all right, I'm a lawyer. I have an ethical obligation to review things from a standard of like evidence-based, not hearsay. I don't tend to throw out terms like, think about this. In the wake of the January 6th events at the Capitol, how many times did people yell, insurrection, insurrection? Well, insurrection has an actual legal definition, and it wasn't insurrection. Did you know, by the way, that nobody was ever charged with insurrection? They weren't. You know why? Because it was not an insurrection. That being said, I try not to be prone to hyperbole. I try not to let myself get swept up by the news stories and then just go with the narrative. I try to make sure that I assess and analyze. And that's just me, but I think that's also this show, and I think that's also where most of you guys are outside in your right side ruffian land. I believe this one's got legs. Why? Because they did not come out with leaks. They didn't come out with hyperbole. They didn't come out with sensationalism. In fact, I will tell you, and if you've seen her much, Tulsi Gabbard has one of the most kind of like straightforward approaches to anything she addresses. She's always like, Miss Poker Face, here's how things are. I'm talking in the same tone of voice the entire time. I'm not trying to sensationalize. It just is. That's what she's done on this one, but she did it with receipts in hand. So she spent 150 days once she got in office, 150 days as a director of national intelligence with a strike force group. And I think that's what they're called. I think they're called the Russia Collusion Strike Force or something like that. And this team began canvassing the files, pulling together classified documents. She reviewed them with them. And then they began to realize we do have the receipts. This is not just theory. The Russia collusion thing that we knew never stood up and was also sort of disproven. Now we know the source. So first of all, no one has ever said that Russia didn't try to meddle in the election, because intel assessments indicated that Russia had an interest in trying to undermine the sanctity of the election process. That's their way of meddling. What the intel assessments were saying, though, also was that Russia was not preferentially treating or going for any one candidate. In other words, there was no collusion with the Trump campaign. But yet the narrative originated. Where did it come from? Well, as I said earlier in the week, what we now know, because Tulsi Gabbard brought the receipts, is that after the election, despite the actual documents that she's now been producing, because that's what she did. First thing she did was she laid the foundation. She established the predicate. She brought out the official copies of documents. She's able to testify as the custodian of the records, if you will, that what she has in her hands are documents that indicate that this report and these talking points and this speech writing and this report and this intel assessment, all of them said no Russia collusion, until combined with another official document, which was the record of a meeting that took place at the White House on December 9th of 2016. We now see the narrative shift completely, like change. And what happened was Obama called in, and I said it earlier, Obama called in Susan Rice, her national security advisor, who later went to work in the Biden administration, if you recall, as a senior advisor there. Susan Rice, James Clapper, John Brennan, Andrew McCabe from the FBI, John Kerry, that this group, this cabal got together, and they came out of the room with their marching orders, because we then have memos, and that's the next piece. The second tranche of documents that Tulsi Gabbard announced to the world yesterday are the documents in which it shows that after the meeting, John Brennan went back to the CIA and told the staff the narrative has changed per the request of the president. What? Yes, they put it in writing. When you find it in an official document like that, it's a whole different ballgame than just he said, she said. Because now there's a paper trail. Now you have documentary evidence, and you can introduce that evidence as a basically, I can't tell you how many times I've been to court, and you bring up the documentary evidence, and the other side doesn't want you to talk about it much, so they say, Your Honor, we'll stipulate that the document says what it says. Okay, it's Your Honor, the document says what it says. We will stipulate that it is authentic. Interesting. Are they going to go that route? Well, so far, none of them have denied these documents exist. Have they? Not that I've seen. When we get back from the break here in a minute, I'm going to tell you, I've got the report that was released by the DNI's office yesterday. I pulled it right off of DNI.gov, dateline yesterday afternoon. It's ODI news release number 18-25. This is a key fact-finding mission that they're on. And I'm going to tell you what it says, but then I'm going to start talking to you about next steps. Is somebody going to jail? Is somebody going to be in handcuffs? Will there be a perp walk? At the very least, will there be a hearing? Is somebody going to lose their security clearance or their pension? Something? Is there going to be any accountability at all? It's a fair question, because right now, as you heard my monologue earlier, the underlying issue is not just, was there a Russia collusion event that we had to endure for 4 years? Yes, there was. But the other thing is now, whose idea was this? And what we can see from the receipts is that apparently it was President Obama himself. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, Russia collusion illusion, the next steps. We'll be right back. Nuts. Barack Obama's winning 2008 political coalition comprising racial and ethnic minorities, young people, and highly educated whites has completely withered. Obamaism is dead. Democrats have got to reconcile themselves to that demise. That's the article. But then he goes on to say, in order for the Democrat Party to actually come back up, they're going to have to do something that gets past all their wokeness, all their intersectionalities, all their obsessions with critical race theory, and all the things about destroying our heritage and our history. They're going to have to, because that's the reason why their polls are so in the tank. And so yet they appear to be incapable of doing that. That's the problem. Democrats are so vested and steeped in their rhetoric. Steeped. Think about what steeped means. Steeped means it's soaked in. Steeped means that it has literally been something you've been like just like dwelling in. You've been ruminating on it. You've been like soaking it in, absorbing it. You've been soused in it, slathered in it. You're steeped. Zohran Mamdani is a clear example of the fact that the Democrat left is moving further left, despite the fact that the polls show that the people are getting tired of it. The 33-year-old Zohran Mamdani, recent winner of the New York City's much-discussed Democrat mayoral primary, says, is our case in point. He's a Ugandan-born Shiite Muslim Mamdani Democrat socialist. Put that on a bumper sticker. Hi, I'm Ugandan-born Shiite Muslim Zohran Mamdani, a Democrat socialist. Vote for me. But he's also a full-fledged communist. So he won the primary on a totally radical platform. By the way, if you're wondering why New York City matters to every, New York City is one of those bellwether places. As goes New York City, so goes the politics in other places in many ways. When New York City does certain things, Democrats and other places sit up and take note. New York City is also somewhat of a harbinger of things to come because they tend to get there first. Mamdani ran on a generally radical platform. Things like support for citywide free bus rides. Okay, so how are you going to pay for the transit system? I don't know. We just want it all to be free. City-owned grocery stores. Well, that's going to go over well. City-owned grocery stores. What? Can you imagine what happens when the government owns the grocery store? You're talking about food lines. You're talking about price fixing. You're talking about the free market's done. A full rent freeze on certain low-income units. Rent freeze. Now, I get it. Rent can get pretty high in the big cities especially, but here's the deal. It's still the market. And if you tell somebody who owns a piece of property they can't charge rent past a certain point, guess what? If they want to charge rent too high, they won't get any renters. But for the government to come in and do price fixing, people are going to go ahead and just abandon their properties. Why would I keep paying the mortgage on this building if I can't rent it for what it takes to pay the mortgage? $30 minimum wage. A $30 minimum wage. Why did I go to law school? I have no idea. A $30 minimum wage. What would that be, by the way? You got a calculator over there? Let's do 40 hours a week times 30. Well, I can already tell you what that's going to wind up being. It's $1,200 a week.
$1,200.
Yeah, it's $1,200 a week. So we're at 4. We're almost at $60,000 a year for minimum wage.
Yeah, to work at McDonald's.
To work at McDonald's, to flip burgers. Just so you know, minimum wage jobs were never designed to be careers. They weren't. Gone are the days, though, because the minimum wage jobs, the burger flipping jobs, that used to be the summer work for high school kids. That used to be the thing you did to fill a gap. That was the thing you did after hours to try and, pick up the extra money to pay off the credit card or whatever. And I've done plenty of the stuff. I've worked in everything from fast food to janitorial to, delivering pizza. I've done all of it. But the reality is the minimum wage job was never designed to be the career. It was a stepping stone. It was a bridge. It was a gap filler. But not with a liberal leftist, because a true Marxist, you know what? A true Marxist wants to make sure that everyone has the living wage. The living wage. Has any Marxist ever figured out what happens when you mandate price increases on salaries and benefits? I'll tell you what happens. People get laid off, businesses close down, they scale back, or they automate, and people lose their jobs anyway. You're going to do that, you're going to crush the soul of your local economy. But he hadn't figured that out. He's also, by the way, for the abolition of private property. One of the oldest, most sacrosanct pieces of the law. If I'm a lawyer, so I'll tell you right now, some of the most archaic language we use in the practice of law occurs in regards to real estate. It dates back thousands of years. We're talking about going back to the Magna Carta. We're talking about things that have been put in place that establish property rights as a general practice in Western nations, which was inculcated into our U.S. system of justice and the practice of law. And yes, we use archaic language in property because it's one of the oldest forms of law that we have. It's also just considered one of those greatest things about free society, that people can own a piece of property. And yet Mamdani wants to go ahead and, let's go ahead and get rid of private property. Who would own it? If it's not private anymore, what's the other thing? It's public property. Oh, the government owns it. This is awesome. I'm telling you, the commies are coming. I got some more examples. We come back from this, I will give you some stuff to think about. So New York City Councilwoman, I got a piece here from Fox, and this came out just a couple days ago. New York City Councilwoman, she's actually a Republican because they do have some. It's like California. They do have some. They really do. But her name is Ina Vernikov, and she grew up she literally has, as a child, she lived behind the Iron Curtain in the Soviet Union. Her family immigrated here after the fall of the Soviet Union, but she was born there in the former Soviet Union. She came to the United States as a child, but she remembers standing in lines with her grandfather just to be able to buy a bottle of milk. And she made the comparison, as she sits on the New York City Council, she made the comparison between Mamdani's policies and what she remembers from communist Russia. And she's telling everybody, he's saying the exact same things. I mean, will they see it? I don't know. I can only hope. By the way, I love New York City, just like I love California. I do. I used to live in California for a period of time as a kid. It's a beautiful state. Goodness. I love New York City. It's one of those places that Charlene and I have had a chance to travel to a little bit. I go back and forth there periodically. I was up there the other day for that CNN appearance, going back again pretty soon. But yeah, I love these places. I do not want to see them go under a pure Marxist rule. I get it when there's going to be a mayor who's more liberal than me, or maybe even just a plain Democrat. Eric Adams is not my first choice, but he's a whole lot better than this Mamdani guy. But then you look at Minneapolis. What is happening with Minneapolis, by the way? Have we lost Minneapolis? Is that still an American city? It is, isn't it? I
think it's actually Somalia now.
I think it is. So the mayor of Minneapolis, the same guy who oversaw the city, solid conservative and just plain right. Welcome to hour number 2 on a thankful Thursday. You know what? I want to hear it again. Thankful Thursday. Play it, man.
You got to be more thankful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
We thank you so much for this bountiful harvest of Domino's, KFC, and the always delicious Taco Bell.
Have you said thank you once?
Thank you. I like it. I swear it's Gilbert Gottfried at the end. It just is. It's got to be.
That's the one and only Michael Scott.
Okay. I am in number 1 of the Triple Dipper, the Russia Collusion Illusion Next Steps. So the piece that I'm holding in my calloused former paratrooper hands is a printout of the most recent press release from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. And the ODNI has put this out talking about most recent developments in the Russia Collusion Illusion disclosures. And they confirm, I'm reading it directly, they confirm a treasonous conspiracy led by President Obama and his national security team, including James Clapper, John Brennan, and James Comey, to manipulate and manufacture intelligence that promoted a contrived false narrative, falsely claiming that Putin aspired to help President Trump's election chances. That's amazing. That's a statement that's actually in the press release from the Director of National Intelligence. That's not something that was being said by, some right-wing news outlet. No, that's the DNI herself saying that. It goes on to talk about several things, but I thought I'd point out some of what they have in their hands now. Key findings from the report that they really, by the way, what they released yesterday was a 2020 report that was still classified from the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. It was something that had not been released to the general public, with a number of findings that would have been nice to know back then, but they didn't release them. Now we have the receipts. The report indicates several things. One, Putin did have an interest in undermining the U.S. democratic process according to Intel assessments, but he was not showing preference to any candidate. That was the assessment in 2020. In 2020, Putin chose not to leak the most damaging and compromising material on Hillary Clinton prior to the election. The inference there is, if he had stuff in his hands about Hillary Clinton, which they then follow up with, and he was trying to help Trump, don't you think that he wouldn't have been preparing to release it on Hillary Clinton? I mean, the bottom line is it doesn't make sense. It's not adding up. If you're trying to help Trump, you release the stuff on Hillary Clinton. You try to tarnish her at the last second, but they didn't do that. So was there really collusion? How about this? The material that Putin chose not to release about Hillary Clinton included possible criminal acts. Things like there were details of secret meetings with multiple U.S. religious organizations in which State Department representatives offered, in exchange for supporting Hillary Clinton, significant increases in financing from the State Department and the patronage of State Department. That's USAID money, I guarantee you. That's USAID money to people who might wink, wink, nod, nod, sort of come on out there and sort of, help out, if you know what I'm saying. There were DNC, the Democrat National Committee, emails detailing that Hillary Clinton suffered. This blows me away. There's intel in the report saying that there were emails among members of the Democratic National Committee, not a Republican making stuff up. These are DNC emails that were apparently co-opted by Russia and were being prepared to use against her, that she suffered from psycho-emotional problems. You think that she was prone to uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and then cheerfulness. That's bipolar, man. If you're manic in both directions, you're running the gamut, then there's a potential here for bipolarism. Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers, it says, and she was obsessed with a thirst for power. God, we dodged a bullet. I'm telling you. CIA Director Brennan and his intelligence committee then mischaracterized intelligence and relied on dubious substandard sources. That's in the report. CIA Director Brennan also referenced the debunked Steele dossier in order to assess Russian plans and intentions. You may recall, Brennan actually got up in front of Congress and testified under oath that he did not rely on the Steele dossier.
That's the cookie in all this. Like, people aren't mentioning that alone. Lying to
Just
Congress
saying.
Is something that they need to go after and for.
I totally agree. By the way, didn't they get how many people did they get on that? Lying to Congress. That's a big deal. Oh, look, there's Jerome Powell and Trump touring together. This has got to be awkward.
Awkward.
I'll get back to that in a minute. And then there's a number of other findings. Now, let me tell you some of the things that are happening and where are we going next steps. DNI Gabbard did say in her press release yesterday, or her presser yesterday with Caroline Leavitt at the White House, that there were deep state actors that did not want the Trump-Russia information to ever see the light of day. They had to go dig it out. They had to pull it loose. They had to pry it from their craggy little hands. That they were literally trying to keep this all under wraps. Well, I guess so. We're looking right now at the media just like blasting right on by this. A lot of the mainstream media doesn't, you know why? It's just like the whole thing with Biden's acuity, right? Whether his mental acuity was still sharp. They didn't want to deal with it because they were complicit. So right now, a piece that I've got here from Jonathan Turley talks about how the legacy media has largely ignored this whole declassified evidence and possible criminal referral to the Obama administration. And it supports the allegations that they were complicit in it because they don't want to talk about it. I think you're going to wind up seeing some people potentially losing their job when their names come out in a report. But I will say this, I got a piece here from the Daily Caller that's interesting. The headline on this one is, the legacy media is in panic mode over Russiagate implosion. Dateline yesterday, Daily Caller. Legacy media's biggest players, NBC, the New York Times, and others, appear to be in full damage control mode over Russiagate revelations from DNI Tulsi Gabbard. NBC accused Gabbard of, quote, trying to rewrite the history of the 2016 election. And the lead on NBC's story accuses Gabbard and President Donald Trump of seeking to reverse an 8-year-old assessment that Russia waged an information war to boost Trump. So they're trying to stick with the narrative at NBC. The story goes on to tout a number of infamous 2017 Intel community assessments. And then the bottom line is they are just like, they're digging in and they're trying to stay with the storyline, and they are not going very well with it. In fact, I will tell you yesterday, in fact, I should have brought the sound clip. Caroline Leavitt just let them have it yesterday. It was Caitlin Collins, Alabama's own Caitlin Collins.
Alabama's tied for biggest embarrassment with Joe Scarborough.
I keep forgetting Joe Scarborough. But yeah, Caroline Leavitt unloaded on CNN reporter Caitlin Collins, according to the Daily Wire. I did watch it, and it's true. Caitlin Collins asked the question, and it was inflammatory, to Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence. How do you address the fact that people are saying that all you're doing is releasing a report to try and gain Trump because he had previously discredited some of your previous intel summaries? And when you saw that happen, I thought, I saw the look on her face. I thought, Tulsi's going to come across that podium.
I got the clip if you want to play it.
Do you really? Go for it.
Oh, wait, hold on one sec. Let me get proper break for it. Okay, yeah. now it's ready.
You ready? All right, I'll tell you what. Play it.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions for Director Gabbard. Just on this, Director Gabbard, you referenced the past intelligence reports and assessments on this, including that 2017 one that was signed off, as Ed noted, by every Republican on the Senate Intelligence Community, including the acting chair of the time, now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said in a statement that they did not find any evidence of Russian collusion, but they did find, however, is very troubling, and they found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling. One, are you saying that he's wrong in that statement that he made then? And secondly, what would you say to people who believe that you're only releasing these documents now to improve your standing with the president after he said that your intelligence assessments were wrong?
Well, first, I want to correct something that you stated, which was citing the Senate Intelligence Committee's report as being one and the same. I think you said the intelligence community. The Senate Intelligence Committee has a very different function than the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The evidence and the intelligence that has been declassified and released is irrefutable. I'm going to let Caroline speak to Secretary Rubio.
I'll speak to both questions. First, on Secretary Rubio, he put out a statement in 2020 following that Senate Intelligence Committee report, and he said what they found is troubling. We found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling, which the Director of National Intelligence just confirmed for all of you, that Russia was trying to sow distrust and chaos. But what's the outrage in this, that Secretary Rubio did not say at the time, the Democrats were saying at the time, is the fact that the intelligence community was concocting this narrative that the president colluded with the Russians, that the president's son was holding secret meetings with the Russians. All of these lies that were never true. And he also said at that time, we discovered deeply troubling actions taken by the FBI under Comey, particularly their acceptance and willingness to rely on the Steele dossier without verifying its methodology or sourcing. The Steele dossier that many outlets in this room ran as the gospel truth, and it was cooked up and paid for by the Clinton campaign. As for your second question, Caitlin, I think who is saying that she would release this to try to boost her standing with the president? Who has said that?
Well, the president has publicly undermined her when it came to Iran. He said she was wrong. He told me that she didn't know what she was talking about. That was on Air Force One on camera.
The only people who are suggesting that the Director of National Intelligence would release evidence to try to boost her standing with the president are the people in this room who constantly try to sow distrust and chaos amongst the president's cabinet, and it is not working. I will just answer your question directly. I am with the President of the United States every day. He has the utmost confidence in Director Gabbard. He always has. He continues to, and that is true of his entire cabinet, who is all working as one team to deliver on the promises this president made.
Oh, wow. Wow. That was like a spanking. That was a Hulk Hogan from a little Bond right there. She just came in there and gave her the with the flying leg drop.
Leg drop,
yeah. I'm going to take a break here in a moment, but I got to tell you this before I go. I got a piece from townhall.com. James Clapper, the former director of national intelligence, has lawyered up, according to this story. Says that the recent release of Russia collusion documents by Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has incensed the media and driven most, if not all, of Obama's inner circle to lawyer up. And then it specifically says that despite the statement that this whole release of documents is in some way bunk or is garbage, that James Clapper himself has been known to have lawyered up in the process. Why would he lawyer up? What is there? Is there a crime potentially? Well, I'm going to tell you in a minute when we get back what 18 U.S. Code Chapter 115 Part 1 actually says. Is there a crime? Very likely. I'll tell you about it. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, you're not going to want to miss the latest edition of the Just Right podcast. We just put it in the can. Listen, we interviewed Ton Boyer, author of The Ground Kisser. What an amazing story she has, escaping communist Vietnam as a child, on a refugee boat filled with hundreds of people, intercepted by pirates, left adrift in the South China Sea, became a refugee, eventually found her way to the United States. She has a mission right now, basically to tell the world why America is the greatest place on the face of the earth, and two, to make sure Vietnam veterans know that they are loved and appreciated. Ton Boyer, you are not going to want to miss this conversation. Just Right podcast coming up. Yeah, let's do a show. 1, 2, 3, hey! Well, Ton Boyer, welcome to the Rightside Media Studio.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you.
Me.
Look, I'm going to do just a brief introduction, sort of tell the world who's sitting here at the table with me. But you got an amazing story. An amazing story. You grew up in a time of war in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
You became a refugee at one point. Robbed by pirates as you were, leaving the country.
Right.
You were left adrift at some point, I understand. You wound up in Indonesia. You finally came to America. Mm-hmm. You found your husband. You found the Lord. You raised a family. And I think one of the things that I've noticed is you have a love for this country, which we'll talk about more with your book in a minute. But for right now, welcome to the Just Right podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Well, listen, I said it a moment ago. So you grew up in a time of war.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us where you're from and how that came about.
Yeah, I was 8 years old when the war ended. Came from Vietnam. I came from the Mekong Delta of Vietnam. We lived right by the Mekong River. Mekong River is pretty big river. I think it's even bigger than the Mississippi River here. But we lived right on the border between Cambodia and Vietnam. It's about 6 miles from my house, the border is. And I was 8 years old when the war ended. And because I live on the border of Cambodia and Vietnam, I also experienced the war between Cambodia and Vietnam after the fall of Saigon in 1975.
Yeah, that was a turbulent time. I mean, you're talking about the time of not just the United States presence in Vietnam and what the fall of Saigon was 1975.
75.
Yeah.
I think the U.S. troop pulled out in 1973.
Yeah. And then Saigon fell in 75. Is that right?
Right.
And the communist takeover of the country at that point.
Exactly.
But then the Khmer Rouge were north in Cambodia, and the killing fields started in like 78, 79 time frame.
Yes. About, 76 when it kind of started, and then it just escalated between 78 and 79.
Now you lived in the Mekong Delta area, so were you in an urban environment, or were you in like a rural environment?
I was in an urban environment. It's a little town called Tăng Châu, Tanchau, and is in the An Giang province. It's, the roads in Vietnam is really not smooth like here. So it takes about 6 hours from Saigon. So it's a little bit southwest of Saigon.
Listen, I've had some time overseas myself in different parts of the world. And I've said many times people don't realize here in America that the dirtiest alleyway is sometimes better than the best road in foreign countries.
Yeah.
So do you remember war when you were a kid?
Gosh, yes. I remember a lot. And, when the thought of putting my story together and putting it in a book, I realized that I had forgotten a lot. And once I enlisted Lisa Smith to help me with the book, she asked some questions, and it just kind of, helped me to go back to the past. So I remember mostly where I am. The Vietnam War didn't affect me as much, but the war between Cambodia and Vietnam affected me a whole lot more because being near the border town and living by the Mekong River, we saw the atrocities of Pol Pot's, the killing fields, basically, coming down that river every single day.
I saw a speech you gave getting ready for today, and you talked about the fact that your mother would say, "Don't go to the river."
Yeah.
And you did anyway.
Yes.
Like most kids would do. Mom says, "Don't do it."
Exactly.
You did it, but what did you see? What happened when you went down there?
Well, my parents tried to shield us. We came from a very wealthy family, so my parents tried to shield us from a lot of things, and there are times where the atrocity of Pol Pot.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just saving the world one soundbite at a time. So a minute ago, I said, hey, they're lawyering up. The Russia collusion illusion, next steps. What's going to happen next? Well, first of all, we understand that there are more documents. Yeah. Let me tell you right now, what you're watching is chess, not checkers. What you're watching is a staged release of documentation. It's not like, well, we weren't ready yet with that part, so we'll get to it tomorrow. No. Because what you do is with this, it's just like when I do a deposition or I have a witness on the stand in court. You ask a question knowing what the answer is going to be, but then when the answer comes out, you've already got the receipts. I can't tell you how many times, and I enjoy doing this, that I get up there and I've already taken their deposition, and I'll ask a question, and then they'll say, well, this is the answer. And I'll say, are you sure? Yeah. Well, let me refer you then to page 32 of your deposition when you were under oath. You were under oath then too, weren't you? Doesn't it say here that this is your answer? And now it's different. Why is it different in front of the jury than it was in your deposition? You do that kind of stuff on purpose. You stage the questions. Well, I think that's what they're doing with the release of these documents. They brought out the foundation first. Then they brought out the evidence of the things that took place after the foundation was laid next. What we're going to see coming up next probably are the things that were the actions that began to take place. And I would not be a bit surprised, because she says she's got them, that there might be whistleblowers who are finally feeling like they have the ability to testify as to what's going on. What kind of crime do we have? There's been a lot of talk of treason. 18 U.S. Code, Chapter 115, Part 1. Does contain the issues related to what are often known as subversive activities, I do believe there is a potential here for subversion. I don't believe that we will qualify under Section 2381 of that code site for what's known as treason. Treason typically requires there to be a levying of war or an acting with foreign aid to undermine or to defeat the ability of the United States to do its work or to exist, and the government to actually govern. I don't think we're going to see treason. I think it's treasonous, but I don't think we're going to see the legal definition of treason be met. Does it meet with any others? Well, what's sedition? Well, sedition is one of these. It's a speech or a conduct that incites rebellion or violence against the government. Sedition is when you are encouraging others to overthrow the government or put things down. I don't think we're going to get there on sedition. Where I do think we might get them on things other than just like lying to Congress or things that took place in the fringe, if you will, of all this. The December 9th, 2016 meeting with the Trump Intel cabinet, I think you could find them under Section 2385 of 18 U.S. Codes, Chapter 115. What is that? Advocating the overthrow of the government. This is the planning, or in this case, the conspiracy to conduct certain activities that teach, advocate, or encourage the undermining or the destruction or the reducing of the ability of the government of the United States to govern. That's exactly what they were doing. They did not want Trump to be able to govern. They did not want him to have the ability to move forward. They did not want him to have any authority to be president of the United States. They wanted to undermine his capability to do that. And the only way they could do it was to cast doubt upon even his ability to have been elected in the first place. And it was planned and it was orchestrated. What are the penalties? Well, the DOJ now has the referral. Tulsi Gabbard didn't play around. She said, I'm not just bringing this out there to make a speech. I'm bringing it out, and I'm not going to tell you what the conclusions are. That's the job of the Department of Justice. So I have now referred it to them. It carries a fine of up to 20 years, the ineligibility for any future employment by the United States government, and heavy fines to be determined by the court of law. So, is there a potential that they could wind up in jail? I doubt if they will. Is there a question of whether or not Obama gets immunity? I believe that he would probably be able to artfully and successfully argue that he may be qualifying for immunity. But I do believe you would also find that nonetheless, we can find some measure of subversive activity, especially if people got like really carried away, like, oh, I don't know, John Brennan, and then lied to Congress about it. So there you have it. The Russia collusion illusion, it's real, y'all. It's real. What we're knowing, what we see now is we can actually tell this happened. Whose idea was this? It appears to have been Obama's. Is there a crime? I think arguably there is under 18 U.S. Code. More to come. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, coming up next. Ain't no Butters in Lee, but we do have Emily in Lee. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Body parts coming down that Mekong River. And I'm not talking about one or two bodies. I'm talking about a wave of hundreds and thousands of bodies.
And you saw this as a kid.
I went, my mom and dad was like, don't go to the river, don't go look out to the river. And other kids, of course, me, and also dragging some of my siblings and cousins and go look at it. And I remember seeing bloated bodies, headless, heads and hands and limbs, and just coming down, floating down the river, and watching some of my relatives taking long sticks and push the body parts back into the channel so that it would, keep on floating down that main channel. And I remember the smell of it. It's just horrific.
There are, I've sort of said sometimes that memories are sometimes keyed more by smell than they are by visual.
Yeah.
Smells come back to you. They bring things back.
Absolutely. Believe it or not, the blooms of the pear trees in spring bring that memories back.
Really?
There's a smell of it that reminds me of the bodies that I smell as 8-9 years old. Wow. And I remember the other 2 weeks ago when I was given talk to a high school kids, and another memory came back of that time. I remember when the water received from the Mekong River. Sometimes my family would let me play. Me and my siblings and cousin. I have 1,000 cousins in Vietnam. I mean, we're all related somehow. So we would play by the river, out there with the water about waist deep, and us playing in that river somehow. I remember seeing a hand.
Oh, wow.
And we were all just screaming to get out of the water. And when you start seeing one or two body parts, there's more coming. Mm. So, I mean, within hours, you start seeing more bodies coming in. That's the Cambodian, that's Pol Pot's. Their communism, I think, is more evil than even Vietnam, because if you wear glasses, they will kill you. That's represent intellectual. They're not going to have it. If you can read a book, they will kill you.
And I remember hearing too that one of the things that was so amazing was how they would have children turn against parents, and
yes,
and parents even turn against children.
Yes.
And it was self-preservation meant turning someone in, and that was how you protected yourself. And
yes.
What a horrible life.
And I mean, to today, there are homes in my hometown where blood stains on the wall still. There's still blood stains on the wall, because where the Khmer Rouge would come in at night, and they would try to extract information from the locals, and they would take babies from mother's arms and take the baby and smash the baby against the wall. Oh. And there's still blood stains on those walls to today.
Well, I don't think Americans sometimes realize the blessing of living in a country where war does not touch the ground we walk on.
Right. Yeah.
Having said that, so you lived through some amazing events in your home country, your original, your country of your origin. Mm-hmm. What was it like when the communists took over the country? I mean, you went from, and you said your family was fairly wealthy. Mm-hmm. What did your family do, by the way? How did
yeah. So my great-grandparents, my paternal great-grandparents, escaped the communist part of China.
Okay.
So he and my great-grandmother escaped communist part of China and settled in the Mekong Delta. He was a Eastern medicine man, so that was his profession. So they started a family there. Because we live by the Mekong River.
Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. And, oh, by the way, also streaming live online. And, oh, by the way, all you podcasters. I didn't go into the whole thing because I don't want to take up too much time for a segment, but I just got to say, no matter where you get this show, whether it be on radio, whether it be online streaming, whether it be in podcast form, we appreciate you. We know you're out there. You make this all worthwhile. Thank you very much to this audience full of Rightside ruffians. We love you. Let me go on now and do a segment we do every Thursday. Now, typically this is called Butters and Lee. Butters was just basically somehow escaped town. He's spending time with his daughters, and I cannot argue with that. In fact, I envy that. So, yes, indeed, take that time, Butterman, with your girls. But in the meantime, we're going to bring on two people, one of whom is our usual person in the mix, the diva of punditry from Huntsville. That would be Lee from Huntsville. Are you present right now?
I am.
Yay! We're glad. And then, oh, by the way, also from Huntsville, host of the Controversial Mom podcast, the founder of Moms for Liberty up yonder in the Madison region. That'd be our own Emily Jones. Emily, are you there?
I'm here.
All right, I'm going to pronounce a quorum for what today we're calling Emily and Lee. Hit it. All right, you guys, you know the deal. I ask questions first round. You ask questions second round. Here's my first questions for you. So basically, the wrappers come off, right? The whole Obama manufactured Russia collusion story is. We all knew it was fake. It wasn't real, but now we got the receipts. Let me ask you this: do you believe what Tulsi Gabbard's putting out? Do you believe that we're seeing that this was actually manufactured by Obama's team? And then my next question for you, though, is anybody going to jail, in your opinion? Your thoughts on that? Emily, since you're proxying in today, you hang on first and tell us what you think.
I do believe everything she's saying because she's been very careful in her wording. She's just saying, here's what the facts are, as I've seen in the documents, and she's stopping short of saying what she thinks needs to happen next. And she's very detailed in what's happening, very precise. So I definitely think what she's discovered or what she's saying is true, that it actually happened. But no, sadly, I don't think anyone's going to go to jail over it. As much as I want them to, I just don't see it ever really happening. I mean, they might get some low-level fish, but that'll be about it. They're not going to arrest Obama or Clinton or any of them, unfortunately. I'd love to see it, though.
It would be something. I mean, well, I tell you what. Let me not poison the well. Let me turn to Lee. What do you think, Lee? Is this real? Do you think it's real? And then, do you think anybody's going to jail?
Of course it's real. I mean, obviously, we all knew what was going on way back when. We all understood that none of this would be happening unless Obama had greenlit the operation. You're not going to find a piece of paper with him signing, please spy on Trump, sign Barack. But I'm saying, it's obvious that none of this would have been conducted without his oversight and approval. They wouldn't have dared. So, yes, he knew. Yes, he wanted it done. And yes, this is exposing it. And I think they were afraid of Tulsi exposing it from get-go, which is why they fought so hard against her to be confirmed. But no one will go to jail because high-level people like that just have built-in protections. They're not going to be willing. Like Emily said, there may be some low-level people, and that's always what happens. Lower-level people take the fall, and everybody's afraid of the Clintons anyway. They don't want to be suicided.
In case I'm not here tomorrow, I do not want to kill myself. Yeah, that's so. I look at this and I agree with you. Both of you agree with. I think that this is real. I think it's absolutely real. I agree with you. I doubt if somebody's going to go to jail. Although the one that really gets me the most is John Brennan, because John Brennan testified before Congress under oath that he did not rely on the Steele dossier, and now we have memos showing that he was relying on the Steele dossier. So I don't know. I just think that there's still more to come. To me, the big thing is going to be is what's the next release? What's the next tranche of documents? Because she says there's more coming, and she's even saying she's got whistleblowers. I think that's going to be a key too. Emily?
A lot of whistleblowers. She's got like 20 of them.
Oh, I hadn't heard the number. She has 20 of them?
I think, yeah, I saw that earlier today. Don't quote me that it was exactly 20, but like it was double digits. It wasn't onesie-twosies. Like, it was a significant amount.
I don't have to quote you. You just said it on the radio.
Those are some brave people. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Well, they're automatically, I guarantee you, being given immunity and, and to some degree, probably even protected status. But they also better go ahead and make sure.
Witness protection.
Yeah. And they also better come in and give their sworn testimony right away. You can use somebody's deposition if they are gone. You can bring it back because it was a statement made under oath and recorded. It's there's more to come on this one. There really is. All right, you guys, let me turn to local politics. I say local, let me turn to something that's in our sphere. So right now, I think one of the biggest races in our listening area is the U.S. Senate seat being vacated by Tommy Tuberville. And I mean, it's gonna develop even more. But right now we've got, of course, Attorney General Steve Marshall, former Navy SEAL Jared Hudson. There's somebody else who I'm forgetting right now that's in the race too. And then we're talking about possibility of Congressman Barry Moore. Now, Barry Moore, who represents a big chunk of South Alabama, is a member of the Freedom Caucus. He's a very conservative guy, good dude. And the margins are thin right now in Congress for our majority. So my question for you guys after that long speech is, can we afford to lose him in Congress? And do you think he's going to jump in? Yes or no? You first this time, Lee.
No, we can't afford to lose him in Congress. at all, and he doesn't have the name recognition to me to win this state race. I just don't think so. I think that Steve Marshall is his to lose. I love Jared, but I just don't think he has enough experience to take on a senator position. I mean, people would have said that about Tommy Tuberville too, but still, I just feel as if it's probably going to be Steve Marshall, and I just don't think Barry Moore has enough going for him to land that. I could be wrong.
Okay. And then as to the margins, you said you don't think we can lose him because of the margins. Is that what you said in Congress?
Yes.
The slim margin.
It's critical that we not. Yes.
All right. What do you think there, Emily Jones?
I have to agree with what Lee said. My biggest concern is losing Barry in the House because we've got a really tight majority. And I mean, Barry is just such a fighter. It's not just having a Republican vote. It's having someone that's willing to disrupt the status quo.
Yeah.
And that is so much of what Barry is. That is my biggest fear in all of it. And there's just not a good replacement for him in South Alabama. If there were a really strong name that could run and backfill him, that would probably put away some of my concerns. But there's just a vacancy there. But I love Barry getting in the race. I love Barry. I actually was texting his wife earlier. We actually grew up like 10 minutes from each other and had no clue.
No kidding.
So, yeah, we had rivaling schools growing up. But I love Barry. I love his wife. I love Jared. So, to me, like, that's just such a tough one, is having to pick between Barry or Jared, because they're both staunch conservatives, both fighters. I mean, They would both go in and do exactly what Coach has done, which is disrupt everything. But I do think that Barry's name recognition is more in the South. It's not statewide, where I think that's where Marshall's kind of got him beat. But they're workers. I mean, I think they're willing to come in and work hard for it. But I think it will be tough to beat Steve Marshall in that race, just because I think he's more well-known, especially in North Alabama. And that's really the part that matters the most, because that's where the mass population is. So.
Well, so
I love Barry, just don't know where I land on all of it.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm really concerned. I mean, first of all, I served with Barry, and this is a weird deal. This is one of those races where I know and like all of the candidates. I've known Steve Marshall for years. We have a great relationship. I know Jared Hudson very well. He's one of our podcasters at Rightside. He's an incredible guy. And then, of course, I know Barry Moore. We actually served together in the legislature. I'll never forget fighting for legislation together. I mean, I love Barry. I saw him when I was up in D.C. for the inaugurals. And all that to say, it's a deep bench, which is nice. It's nice to have a deep bench, which, you look at and go, okay, I like all of the candidates. But when I look at Barry and think about how slim the margins of majority are for the Republicans in the House, and I know how much he had to fight to get that seat that he's in, and I also know that waiting in the wings is Jerry Carl, who's going to be really Mr. kind of like centrist, tepid, center right kind of guy, and just not be the Barry Moore that we have right now. I hate that idea. So part of me is concerned that he leaves a seat behind to run the risk of losing a seat that we're going to keep no matter what. The statesman-like view for me is I almost kind of hope Barry stays where he is. So that's that. That's a weird position to be in, but there it is. All right. That would be round one already. Good Lord. All right. We're at round one of Emily and Lee. We'll come right back. This is where we flip the script. They ask me questions, and I hope I have an answer. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Mekong River is a gateway to all the commodities, coming down that river from Cambodia and other part of the
trade route.
Trade route. So my paternal grandfather started buying commodities that came down that river, buy and sell, and he started that business. And he has 10 kids. My father is the third child. Okay. And everybody worked in my grandfather's business. And so he started that business. And I mean, we dealt with everything. We bought silk coming down that river. We had a bakery at one point. We had a Fanta bottling company, believe it or not.
Really?
In Vietnam, South Vietnam at one point. So we were one of the richest family in our province.
So what happened when the communists came? Because
So when the
wealth is
communists-
not usually allowed in the communist
No.
countries.
Not at all. They came in and they basically overnight, with a stroke of a pen, they nationalize all of our businesses and take away and close our bank account, froze our bank account, start take over some of our homes and our land. And they were allow my family to have only the bakery. And even with that, they tell us what to produce, how to produce it, and even at what price. So we went from having one of the richest family in the province to being just like everybody. I mean, that's what communism and socialism is, right?
Yeah.
They basically their things is take from the rich to help the poor. Sounds great. Sounds really. Who does not want everybody to be equal? But it doesn't work that way. All I did was take away the incentive of people really working, want to do better for themselves, and the rich become poorer and the poor stay in poverty.
Yeah, communism crushes the spirit, doesn't it?
It is, and communism is, it's a religion. It is. It's a religion.
Was it so when they took over everything, when the communists took over the country, and the South Vietnamese government fell, did they literally come in, aside from the stroke of the pen and the things that they took, did they come in and did they micromanage your life? I mean, did they actually walk into the house and tell you, here's how things are going to be?
Yeah, we had a communist family came in and lived with us.
Live with you?
Just to watch us.
They put watchers in your house?
Yes. To make sure we didn't hide anything from them, because we were rich. And basically we went from, okay, I'll give you an example. Before, when you have aches and pain, you can go to the market and get a bottle of aspirin.
Right.
When the communists took over, commodities and everything was so scarce that you can only buy one aspirin. And also because that's all people could also afford.
Wow.
A pregnant mom can only buy one multivitamin. You can't just go buy enough rice and soy sauce and things like that for your family, or fabrics and threads to make clothes. You have to stand in line to buy, those things.
Everything rationed, everything parceled
Everything
out.
rationed, yes. And you can stand in line for hours sometimes, and there's nothing. And by the time they get to you, there's nothing left. And you have to come back the next day to get back in line.
Meanwhile, the communist leaders got fat, I'm
They
sure.
got fat.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm
They
sure.
took over all the people homes and moved in, and yeah, even today, all the millionaires in Vietnam, you betcha, they have a communist tie to them.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so this is a turbulent time. How long after the fall of Saigon did you remain in the country? You personally remain in the country?
4 years.
So 4 years,
And
so
I think
1979-ish.
1979's 2 weeks after my birthday, which is in May, it's when my sister and I escaped Vietnam.
Okay, well, tell me about that, because I know in one of the speeches of yours that I reviewed, it wasn't your whole family that came out.
Right.
It was just a few, and your parents had to make a choice, basically.
Yes.
So what was that family discussion like to decide who leaves and who stays?
Gosh, I remember that night very clearly. I had several aunts and uncles. They were able to afford to pay passages. And when I say pay passages to leave Vietnam, meant that you're paying the official to look this way so you can escape
So
this
this is
way.
a bribe.
It's a bribe. So if you get caught, they can throw you in jail. So basically, you bribe the government to leave.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Using common sense like a superpower. All right, so jumping back in with round 2 of Emily and Lee. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go with Lee first. I'll tell you what. Yep, let's do it. Lee first. Lee first. Question for me. What do you got? Did I lose Lee?
I wanted to find out what you thought about the pickle that President Trump has sort of got himself into.
Okay.
As far as the Epstein file, because I find it interesting. The Democrats really weren't screaming for Biden and them to release the files. As a matter of fact, Dick Durbin blocked it a couple of times, I believe. And yet now they've suddenly decided this is a weak point for Trump. And so now they're screaming for him to release it. And they're actually coming out and demanding it, even though some of the ones that demanding it were the ones that blocked it, which I find hysterical.
Yeah.
Also, I think we all understand that if there was anything in there that was even a little bit incriminating, it would have been released about Trump years ago.
Yeah.
So how does he get out of this catch-22? And how does he get them to stop screaming about it without releasing the documents? And do you think they're not releasing them because of the international implications?
Okay, so that's a lot.
I know.
Don't beat around the bush. Ask me one question. All right, so no, that's let me see if I can give you a narrative answer on some of that. So the reality is, yes, Democrats, the kabuki theater that we're seeing right now is just literally them having nothing else to work with, and so they're grabbing hold of something to make something out of nothing, and that's where we are. Trump is not, I don't think Trump has himself in a pickle, with the exception that everybody thought there'd be more. And now they're finding out that what they've got in their hands does not really give them more without doing a couple things. One, it would require them to defy court orders, and they can't do that. A lot of this stuff, these so-called names, are bound up in grand jury testimony that is currently under court seal. So Trump called their bluff. I don't know if you saw this or not, but 2 days ago, Trump asked for the director of, for the DOJ to go ahead and petition the court to unseal the records and release the names if the judge will do it.
Yeah.
But I think everybody knew, including Trump, that was not likely to happen. And it didn't.
Right.
The judge denied it yesterday. So I would say, first of all, part of what's there can't be released without the judge agreeing to it. Everybody knew that. The Democrats know that. Trump even knew that. But he called their bluff and pretended he didn't know that. And he was trying to get it. And it's political theater. The other piece of this, though, is what they may have in their hands could also be something that could open up just an amazing amount of, yes, there would be international ramifications, I believe. Yes, there would be potentially some damage done to international relations. But the other piece of this is, what does it do to a person's life if you suddenly infer that they were at a pedophile's island when they may never have done anything except be present at a function where Jeffrey Epstein was also present? You know what I'm saying? So you got to be careful with defamation. Right. And you got to be careful with suddenly releasing someone and destroying their credibility when they had done nothing to earn it. So I really believe that what's happened is, and I said it multiple times, this is where Dan Bongino said the other day so well. He said, I used to get paid for my opinions. Now I get paid to deal with facts. And that's the conundrum that I think that they're in. Courts under seal, and then some of it's just now the facts aren't what they thought they were, and then some of it is just something that all you'd be doing is destroying a life for nothing more than an inference, and that's just not good governance. So that's where we are right now. I want to see people brought to justice, but I want to know that they were the ones who did it, not the ones who just happened to be at a function. So there. Okay, Emily, what you got for me?
All right, I had to research a new question because you stole mine. just so your audience is aware, Phil stole my question, so this is my second option.
All right.
I have been seeing lots of headlines about people within the Biden administration that are pleading the fifth when they've been brought in to answer questions around Biden's mental state when he was the president.
Yeah.
There has been talks about offering people a plea deal to come in and testify to what really happened without them being held accountable for not reporting it or whatever. What are your thoughts on offering plea deals to those that are pleading the fifth and avoiding questioning?
So first of all, plea deals are a common and immunities deals are part of this the way the justice system works. If you're trying to get at the big guy and you've got three small guys that could otherwise be in trouble, and you've got the goods on them, and they will agree to turn state's evidence, then you do that to get to the big guy, because the big guy is the real problem. So that's not uncommon. I don't think that's a bad tactic. In fact, the little guys so often are the ones who are the minions are the ones who are going to wind up facing the heat if they don't get some immunity. And then the big guy goes scot-free. So I think that's the way to go on it. Now, with them pleading the fifth, what does this mean? So yes, they have pled the fifth, and you'd like to think that if there's nothing wrong there, then why did they plead the fifth? Well, that's because there is something that, whether it is actually criminally culpable, cannot be fully determined yet until a trial by jury. But in the interim, why implicate yourself in such a way as to create the need for a trial by jury? So they're pleading the fifth, and that's under advice of counsel, I'm sure. The other piece of this, though, is in the back room, if there's something to work out, that's where you're going to see their lawyer go to the Department of Justice and go, so hypothetically speaking, if my client were to say something along the lines of X and so, would there be a willingness on your part to, I don't know, work a plea deal with them or an immunity deal? So that's what I bet is happening. There was some talk today, by the way, I haven't seen it yet, but one of the Biden senior advisors was actually giving real answers. And I don't know yet to the extent of that, but that was actually happening just today. So anyway, did I answer your question?
I missed that one. It does. I missed that headline, but I saw somebody else that had gone in and pled the fifth, and that's what sparked the whole thing in my mind. So I didn't know that somebody was answering. That's interesting.
What do you think, Lee? You want to chime in on that real quick before we run out of time?
Yes, I agree that that we should try to bring in some of these lower level people. I think we need to work on the physician, honestly, more than anything, because he made an oath.
Yep.
And physicians tend to want to do the right thing. That's their core. That's why they're doctors. And I think if you offered him immunity, he would be one of the best people to get the answers from. Politicians will lie like a rug and not care. So
he's going to be interesting too, because I think he's also subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice. I believe he was on active duty, assigned to the White House as a military surgeon. So that's going to be also interesting, because there's a different standard there on some of those things. Well, listen, Emily, you're going to stay around just for a minute so we can talk about an event coming up Monday. But in the meantime, thank you both for who you are and what you do, and we love having you on, and we'll do this again. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be hour number 3 coming up.
So I had a few aunts and uncles that had signed up to leave Vietnam on this riverboat, and they're going to Australia because they felt Australia is the safest place to be. And also, we have a few cousins that already left Vietnam before the fall of Saigon, and they settled in Australia.
Okay.
So overnight, one of my aunt came home and told my dad that there may be some empty spots on this refugee boat, and that we should take the empty spots. And there's 8 of us in the family, my parents and 6 kids, me being the oldest.
Okay. How old were you at the time?
I was 12.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And basically, my parents have only a few hours to decide this. And my parents, of course, at this time in 1979, everybody was struggling. We don't have a whole lot of money. And I know it was a lot of sacrifice for my parents to even, bribe someone to the official for me and my sister to leave. And so, yeah, there were only enough money for just 2 passages. And so they picked me, being the oldest. I was 12. And my next sister, she was she's a little bit over 10 years old, to leave with my aunt and uncle. And my parent has to make the decision overnight. I mean, I just can't imagine.
No.
The pain and the...
Do you remember them telling you?
I remember, yeah. And I remember my parents said to trust them, and I think, being the oldest of 6, I'm pretty bratty. It's kind of like bratty, and also kind of
Were you headstrong?
Yeah. I mean, I can fight any boys in my neighborhood growing up. I mean, I would have like a spitting contest with the boys. And anyway, so I just felt like at that time, I felt like I'm trusting my parents. And even though now looking back, I can't even imagine them having to make this decision.
No.
Because, honestly, they don't know if they will ever see me and my sister again. They don't know that, right? But they have to make this hard decision because they knew that at least 2 of their kids may have a better life elsewhere than Vietnam.
Well, I mean, that's huge. And I've raised kids, and I understand you've raised your kids. And I cannot imagine at 10 and 12 years old sending them away and knowing never see them again.
I remember saying,
what an amazing thing.
Saying goodbye to my little brother. He was 2 years old. And that night, we slept in a mosquito enclosement. That's how we sleep in Vietnam.
Under
I remember
a net?
A net, yeah, mosquito net. I remember hugging my brother and one of my sister, 2 of the other sister. It was summer, so there was no school. So 2 of the sisters did visit some of our relatives elsewhere. I remember thinking, this is maybe the last time I get to see 2 of my siblings and my parents. And I just, that morning when my dad took my sister and I to the coast to leave on this riverboat, looking back and seeing my mom there, not sure if I ever see her again. That was hard.
Oh, well, I can't even imagine. I also can't imagine not just your side, but I can't even imagine the parent side of it. But so you got on the boat though, and you're on there, and you do have some family ties on the boat with you. You have an aunt, uncle, and some cousins.
Yes.
How many total?
There was 2 sets of aunts and uncles and 2 of their kids.
Okay. And then how many people total on the boat? I mean, is this
It's about 400.
Oh, this is not a small boat.
No, well, no, it's a small boat, but they fit as many people in there as they can, and there was not room. There was only room just to sit. There's not even room to lay down. And I remember one time my sister and I had our backs together just to sleep because there's no room to lay down.
All right, I heard you speak. This was not a smooth voyage, this boat, and you were actually at some point intercepted by pirates. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, how'd that go?
Well, not very well. But well, first of all, the South China Sea was full of pirates at that time, and because they knew that the Vietnamese refugees carry gold and jewelries with them to start their lives elsewhere, right?
Right.
So piracy is, I think it was estimated that a quarter of the refugee boat people was robbed by pirates.
Wow.
And they're from Thailand and other, Malaysia, Indonesia, and all that. But yeah, we were, after several days at sea, we actually landed in Malaysia.
So you went ashore in Malaysia, or is this before the pirates or after?
This is okay. So this part may be a little bit sensitive, in a way, but this is the truth. We landed in Malaysia, and we thought we were going to be rescued. Well, the Malaysian Navy came out and they tied our boat to their boat, and they pulled us out to the sea.
Oh, wow.
And we thought we were getting pulled to somewhere like a refugee camp or something. They pulled us out to sea where there's no people that can see them. They robbed us.
The Malaysian Navy?
Yes, because they were in uniform.
Wow. Wow. Did you have any personal items of your own stolen? Were there any people that were taken? I mean,
yeah.
I would imagine human trafficking is also an issue sometimes in this.
that would have happened, I believe, with all my heart. But if it wasn't for the grace of God, God intervened during this situation because a huge storm was brewing. So they started robbing people, and they found a bunch. They came over with metal detector.
Yeah.
And the captain of our boat has hidden some gold on the boat, and they found the gold, and it was a lot of gold. And so they were busy.
Said solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number 3 here on a Thankful Thursday. I'll tell you what, I asked Emily Jones to hang on so we could cover something real quick. I want to make an announcement. We got an event coming on Monday. I'll be in Huntsville at a town hall event, helping moderate and just, be there and hopefully see a bunch of ruffians. But Emily is part of the host process of all this with Moms for Liberty. And so I asked her to stay on so we could kind of cover down on it a little bit. Hey, Emily, Monday night, if folks want to come to this event, what's the specs on this and what do they need to know?
Yep. So doors are going to open around 5:30. We'll actually start around 6. And it's going to be held at Movement Church in Madison, and it's right off Browns Ferry Road. Very easy to find.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of the keynote speaker, more or less, is Jared Hudson, who, like you mentioned earlier, is running for the U.S. Senate seat. So it's really a town hall with a couple of grassroots organizations and a church that's willing to get involved in politics. Thank you, Lord. To just kind of help educate people on the people running for office, because it's very important that we're making informed decisions. And Jared's an amazing person. We obviously would love if he were in that position. We just want to make sure people know him and understand his platform. And this is just an opportunity to get his voice out there in the Huntsville area.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you very much for doing this. And also thank you for allowing me to be a part of it with you. So if Rightside Ruffians want to come, it's at Movement Church. Doors open at 5 on Monday, this coming Monday. That's the 28th, I believe. And is there a cost for a ticket, or is it free to the public?
It is free to the public. So doors open at 5:30.
5:30,
but it's
okay.
open to the public. We're asking people to register just so we can get a head count. But if you can't register, don't let that stop you. Come anyways.
How do they register again? If you just said it a moment ago, I apologize. But how do you register that?
If you go on our Facebook page, Moms for Liberty Alabama, there's a link on there. We're trying out a new platform. So I can't even remember how to tell people to get to it other than go to our Facebook page. You'll find it there.
Okay. All right. So Monday, July 28th, it's a town hall event. Jared Hudson, former Navy SEAL, one of our podcasters, just like you at Rightside, and now running for U.S. Senate. By the way, he's got a fascinating story. I will say this, and I don't know if you've seen it or not, Emily, but we did a full-length podcast. We have a new podcast called the Just Right Podcast. It's a long form. We sat down with him as one of our first ones, and we did a good hour and a half. If you want to get to know Jared Hudson in depth, go watch that podcast. You will find out everything about the guy, what it's like to be a Navy SEAL sniper, how much he loves the Lord, why he loves his country. I mean, it's an amazing discussion. So that's out there right now on our website, rightsidemedia.org. All right. So Emily, I'll be there too as a moderator. What is the attire for the event, by the way? Come casual?
Casual is good. One of the things I love about Movement Church, because that is now my home church, they're not status quo at all, and it is the most amazing thing. So the first time I went there was a lady literally in a sweatshirt and a pair of shorts. So there's nothing dress code wise. I mean, come clothed, obviously. We don't need to see bellies and any of that, but you don't have to dress up. Just come as you are. Come get educated and get involved. That's all we ask.
All right. Well, Em, thanks for doing it. As always, I appreciate you doing what you do in the community. And this is exactly, why Moms for Liberty exists, is to fight the good fight. All right. I'll see you Monday.
All right. See you then.
Thank you, my friend. All right. We got another caller calling in momentarily, and I think he's probably getting in the queue right now. I'm going to continue. JP, you give me the thumbs up when you're ready on that, but I'll let you know right now that we're about to have kind of a last minute spur of the moment, an opportunity here with Jay Town, former U.S. Attorney Jay Town, who is now, oh, by the way, a legal analyst with Newsmax. And he's going to give us some insights on what we got about the Tulsi Gabbard tranche of documents, the who did what, who said what, why did they say it, when did they say it, is there any culpability here, is there some criminal penalty potentially available, and is there immunity? All these things. Let me go to the phones right now. J-Town, how you doing, man?
Bill, how are you, my friend? It's good to be with you.
Hey, man, thank you very much. By the way, congratulations on the Newsmax gig. I saw that on your social media.
Yeah, thank you. I guess everybody gets lucky now and then, but I'm super proud of it. It's a lot of fun, and they've been great.
Wow, good deal. Good deal. Well, listen, I mean, in your position as a former U.S. attorney, public corruption is a big part of the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the investigation of these kind of things by the Department of Justice is not like it only happens once in a while. There's things going on all the time, but this one has got a lot of notoriety with the Tulsi Gabbard tranche of documents and allegedly more to come, and whistleblowers and all of it. Give me your unvarnished thoughts on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, HPSCI, there was a highly classified report that was penned, but since it was so highly classified, it was never released to the public. And what Tulsi Gabbard released to us, I guess it was last week now, is really an absolute tranche of, and if I could, Phil, just give you a brief timeline. In August and September of 2016, President Obama and his national security team were briefed on the Russian threat to the 2016 election. And they were told that the Russians have dirt on Hillary Clinton about her health, about her temperament, and about DOJ, high-level official there, feeding her information about her emails case. And that was consistent August, September, and then even in November, 2 days before the election. On December 5th, after Trump was elected, there was no mention of Putin aspires for Trump to be president or favors President Trump or anything like that. In fact, it was pretty clear from the intelligence that Hillary Clinton was the one they fully expected to win, which is why they were hacking the DNC, because they wanted to get dirt on her so that they could use it against her once she became president and weaken her. Well, December 5th, Obama gets the same brief. December 6th, the very next day, he orders the intelligence community to rewrite their intelligence community assessment as it relates to the Russian election and include the Steele dossier, which then Brennan did, Clapper did, Comey did, and they, all the professionals in the intelligence community, God bless them, they said, no, this is unclear, it's unreliable, it's odd, it's of uncertain origin, implausible, anti-Trump bias. Those are not my terms. Those are the terms in the report that Tulsi released. Sorry, D&I Gabbard released. And sure enough, he goes and finds 5 analysts that don't know what they're doing, tells them to write it, doesn't edit a word, and then it's released to Trump and to the Obama administration later on in January. And then summarily, the classified version is sent to 250 high-ranking officials in the Obama administration, and that is the birth, that is the origin story of the Mueller investigation and the Russia hoax. And then the Steele dossier came out sometime around mid-January before Trump took office. But Hillary Clinton paid for it. Let's assume Obama had been talking to his successor, right, and knew about the Steele dossier. And didn't work, so they wanted it used to cripple Trump, and it did. I was a part of the administration in 2017, 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, you were.
I can tell you, the department, the first 2 years, you couldn't get anything done because of Mueller. It just had the attention of all the high-ranking people, and as a high-ranking person myself, if I needed the Attorney General for something, it's very difficult to get their attention on something because it was focused on Mueller. And Mueller found nothing.
Mueller did find nothing, and Mueller even like you look at it and think all the things that Mueller relied upon. But one of the things that really got me was that Brennan himself testified he never relied on the Steele dossier. He testified under oath before Congress that he never relied on the Steele dossier. Correct. But now we find actual receipts basically that say that he did.
He absolutely did. And the intelligence community, specifically the CIA, told Brennan that they have. So everybody needs to understand a couple of terms. So when they talk about intelligence product, they're talking about a report. And when they talk about the judgment that goes into it, just think about, when you hear a rumor, how much stock do you put in it? I hear it from Phil Williams. I might believe it because I trust Phil. I hear it from just some random person on the street. I put less faith in it. It's the same thing in intelligence assessments. So Comey said to Congress that it was a high confidence judgment that Russia was favoring Trump in the election and influenced the election that way. Well, everyone at the CIA told Brennan that's not true. They have a low confidence judgment. That is the lowest possible assessment you can give. That's next to going on Reddit and reading the blogs, right? You might as well do that. We don't need a CIA to read Reddit. And so that was what Comey said before Congress. Brennan knew what he was doing. This guy's been in the swamp. He is the swamp, right? This guy was for waterboarding before he was against it and threw his boss under the bus and then took his job and then stuck around working for Republicans, Democrats. It doesn't matter. It's DC, right? And he and Comey both are disgusting individuals, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know how Clapper ordered the report to be done as DNI. But I don't know. I mean, look, that's the story. Whether or not a crime can be charged is a whole nother thing, folks. And then whether or not we can toll the statute of limitations enough if there's a conspiracy, to actually prosecute anybody. But I don't care. If the statute's run out, let a special counsel write that at the final paragraph. But the statute of limitations has run out and we cannot prosecute this case. But the first 200 pages is dedicated to what the heck happened. That's what we need to know. So these people never see government again.
That's right.
And that includes Susan Rice, Ben Rhodes, all those guys. They all knew this was happening. And we never listen to Obama or Hillary Clinton again about anything because we know that they're liars. That needs to come out if it's true.
I completely agree, and I think I said earlier in the show that just the public knowledge of this is part of the accountability process, and I think that's absolutely imperative. Let me ask you just a quick question. We got about 2 minutes. Do you foresee special counsel being appointed? Do you foresee there being anyone who faces potential actual charges, and do you foresee immunity claims on the part of the administration's personnel?
So I see they have formed a strike force. DOJ has to determine whether or not there could be a prosecution.
Okay.
I don't see how line counsel at DOJ could actually do this. So I do believe they're going to have to appoint a special counsel, which means they'll impanel a grand jury. So you don't know if charges actually will be filed. The strike force will determine whether or not, if there was a conspiracy and if that can be told. Folks need to understand that if there is a conspiracy to create fake intelligence reports, which this seems to suggest, everything that happens, even by one member of the conspiracy, holds it and adds another 5 years from that moment. So Brennan last testified about this stuff, I think in 2022 or 23 before Congress. And that would hold it for everybody. And so I do think we need a special counsel for this. And I don't know if anybody's going to be charged. I'm not possibly in a position to know that. And neither is anybody else, Phil, who we got to throw them all in prison. Well, okay. Do we have provable evidence? Right. And let them assert immunity if they want to. Those will be defenses after a charge.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, man, that was a great call. I appreciate that. Thank you for bringing your knowledge in. Enjoy the Newsmax gig, and we'll talk to you again sometime soon, brother.
Thanks, Phil. All
right, Semper Fi. All right. Listen, that was good. We got to take a break. I ran long on purpose because that was an unexpected opportunity to talk to a former U.S. attorney about what he thinks about whether we're going to see a special counsel and where the evidence is leading. But that was timely and on point. We'll come right back. I got a ton of text messages. You want to text in 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. We'll be right back.
That and then they make people strip off their jewelry. And I remember my mom had sent some jewelry with us some gold bracelets and necklaces and stuff. And my sister and I actually strip them off of us, and we would stuff them in our mouths just to hide from the pirates. So that was saved. But they found a lot of gold from the captain that they didn't want to bother with the people too much. And even while they were robbing us, there was this huge storm brewing really fast, and they wanted to get out of there. So
sometimes God calms a storm, and sometimes He brings a storm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the storm was brewing really fast, and they were trying to rob us really fast, so they didn't search everybody.
So you got to keep your...
So my family got to keep ours.
Wow.
Jewelry. But that storm got them out of there. And their plan was they disabled our engine and threw some of our provision overboard. So they think that storm was going to capsize our little boat.
They disabled the engine, left the boat just adrift?
Yes.
Okay.
So they were hoping that storm would capsize our boat and kill all of us. So they don't have to do the killing themselves. We believe that is their plan. But that storm, if they didn't capsize our boat, that they were hoping we would be floating in the South China Sea, starved to death because they disabled our engine. We couldn't go anywhere.
How long did you stay adrift after that?
Several days.
Wow.
Several days adrift. And that storm actually carried us to Indonesia, closer to Indonesia.
Which is where you wound up.
Yes.
In a refugee camp, am I
right? Yes. So the Indonesians saw a boat, and they came out, and they helped us.
That's an amazing circumstance.
Yeah, exactly. God just intervened.
How about that?
I believe that with all my heart.
Well, I believe it with you. So you got to Indonesia, and at this point, I mean, this has been a journey already, but you're not through.
No.
And now you go into a refugee camp that I saw one of your speeches, and it sounds like it was not really a well-established camp when you first got there. It was more like survival. Am I right?
Right. We were the second boat that arrived on that refugee camp.
Okay.
There was one other Vietnamese refugee boat there already. But every day, more refugees arrive on this island, and there was nothing on this island. There were not even shelter for us. Food was really scarce. There was still a little bit of food that we brought with us, and we ate what we had. And then we start eating things that we can found on the island. If you're lucky, you can catch fish out of the sea. But we ended up, I remember eating things like snails and trying to find leaves and barks and grubs that I ended up eating.
I heard you say on one speech that you could go on the show Survivor and do really well.
Yes, I think I can. I really can.
There's big money in that. Well, but as a kid, so you're only 12 years old, and now you're eating grubs and making your own shelter, and you and your extended family are among how many people in this camp?
Well, like I said, thousands of people. I think it was estimated about almost half a million refugees by the time that camp closed.
Wow. Who was running the camp? Was there an organized agency that was helping assist the camp, or was it just makeshift?
Not yet. We were there for several months before the international organization found that there were refugees there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what organizations wound up coming to your aid at some point?
It was CARE International.
CARE, yeah.
And World Vision.
Okay.
The Catholic, I think some Catholic church organization.
Red Cross or UN, did they show up at all?
I can't remember. I just remember CARE, CARE, and I remember World Vision.
Well, so...
Oh, and I do remember there was a ship that parked right outside of our camp eventually after several months, and it's called Sea Swift or something like that.
One of the Mercy ships at a hospital?
It's kind of like the Mercy ship because there were doctor and nurses that come in every day from the ship, and they made a little hut-like, little makeshift hospital there for people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a Mercy ship.
Well, so once the aid organizations began coming in, and realized you're still in a refugee camp, so everything's very relative. But did life improve? I mean, did you have food? Did you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, life did improve. They brought in a lot of medicine for.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Man, bulletproof influence. That's what I'm saying. Hey, I got a short amount of time because I ran long with Jay Town, but let me go to the phones real quick because I got David from Chattanooga. David, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Hey, good. Thanks. What's on your mind? Something about the situation with Tulsi Gabbard's intel documents?
Yes. I'm a retired intel analyst, and I had the pleasure of debriefing James Clapper once back in '96.
Wow.
At the Pentagon, and I remember getting a distinct feeling that there was something not right about him at that time. I only met him one time, and once was enough.
Wow.
But I will tell you though that I've written several assessments, and I've had calls from the DNI or from higher, flag officers saying that this can't possibly be, that I need to change it and change my perspective on the sit rep or the whatever it is I was doing, and I would be proven right in the end. The higher ups definitely guide the intelligence into the way they want it to be presented. They don't care if it's right or wrong.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? By the way, thanks for your service. I take it that you were a military analyst or were you a civilian analyst?
No, I was military. I started out as a Cold War warrior, and I retired in '06.
Well, thank you for your service very much. And yeah, I mean, listen, intel is supposed to be what intel is, not what you want it to be, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something else, though. Clapper's expertise is in the former Soviet Union, Russia. So if you wanted somebody to gin up something bogus on Russia, dealing with Russia, he was the guy to do it, I guess.
Wow. He's also the guy that should have known better, I would say.
Oh, yeah. Well, people don't realize that when you retire, you have to debrief, and you are expected to not talk about anything classified for 75 years.
Oh, yeah.
That covers most people's lifetime.
When
and so here and on penalty of being held accountable.
I worked several SAPs when I was in the Pentagon, and I got read off. And when I was leaving, I'll never forget, the lady goes, "If you ever write a book, we have to read it first." And I went, "Okay." So
yeah. My uncle was a major general there at the Pentagon. I tell you, once is enough to go there. I didn't care for it.
Well, David, appreciate you calling in, man. That's great perspective. It's very interesting that you actually debriefed Clapper himself, especially when he gave you the heebie-jeebies. But all right, brother.
Yeah. Well, his handshake was like wet bologna.
Oh, wow. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, David. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for calling in from Chattanooga.
No problem.
All right. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Ton of text messages I'm about to dive into. You guys stay tuned. We will be right back.
Oh, that's another thing. There are people that start dying of dysentery.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not dying of starvation, you die of dysentery.
I had dysentery in Afghanistan, and it's not fun.
Oh, my gosh. That's what I had in the refugee. I almost died. I really thought I was going to die, honestly. In the refugee, I had dysentery so bad. But eventually they came in, they brought medication for all of us and food, lots of food.
In fact, now that you say that, I remember one of your speeches, you said, to this day, you still get a hankering for Spam once in a while because they brought Spam.
Yes, yes. That's where I learned how to eat Spam. Yes. We still have Spam. Right now in our pantry, we always have Spam.
Well, it's funny what sticks with you like that. So you're in this refugee camp. Living conditions may have gotten somewhat improved, but you're still not in a good place. Is your family still intact? Everybody's still together?
Everybody's still together. And one of my uncle who serves in the Navy for the South Vietnamese Navy, so because he served, he get to pick what country to immigrate to.
Okay.
And of course, we picked the United States of America. Everybody wanted to come here.
Yeah.
This is the place.
Was it? And let me ask you about that, because, you know, in my time overseas and in my time in Afghanistan, I actually lived among the Afghan people for a year. And it's amazing, people who have never been to America still have an idealized version of what's here.
Yeah.
So you had never seen America, but you had seen Americans, I guess, during the Vietnamese War.
I have never had, no.
So you had no interaction with Americans
interaction.
before. What was the never having seen it, what was the mental image you had of America?
Cold.
It was cold?
Yes.
Okay.
What I remember as a little kid, always hearing that America is so cold.
Okay.
And even when we were in refugee camp and getting ready to come here to America, whatever money left, my aunt and uncle left, they brought us wool sweaters to come to America.
They hadn't been to the South.
No. And it was July when we came, and we wore high neck, 100% wool sweater arriving to Huntsville International Airport.
What did you imagine about life in America before you ever got here? What was your did you have certain things you expected to see or you couldn't wait to see? Or
I could imagine, because my life before communists, you know, we had French things like cheese and butter and champagne, all that, and I thought, you know, and we've always heard that America is even better than that. So as a little kid, you know, I think about living in a castle, living in places, you know, that has carpet, and I don't know. It's just like a fairy tale, I guess. As a little kid, I just thinking America is like a fairy tale story.
Well, so the day came when you found out there was a sponsor in Athens, Alabama, of all places.
Athens, Alabama.
That was willing to sponsor a family from the camp.
Yes.
How did it turn out to be your family, and what was that like?
I think it was the Van Kirks of Athens. Mrs. Van Kirk was a Catholic, and there was a nun that came to her St. Paul Church and spoke on the plight of the refugee people, and said, well, they need sponsor. They need to get out of the camp. They need sponsor. And it just really touched her heart. And that's when she and her husband decided to sponsor a family. And the Catholic Church placed our family with her family.
Did they have any limits, like we can only take 4, or did they say we'll sponsor whatever they consider to be their family and we'll take the whole thing?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. I never asked her that question, and now she has long passed away.
So who notified you in the camp that you were going to be going to America?
It was one of the organization. I guess it's the Catholic organization.
Well, all right. So how did you come to America? By boat, by plane? What happened?
By plane.
All you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show, this one. Whew, goes from like Huntsville back on over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back on over to Gadsden. All the way down to that loveliest little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the line from there to what we now call, once again, Fort Benning. And then big old patches of North Georgia, Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. And that's just the radio. Then there's a whole ton of y'all out there that every single day are live streaming the show everywhere in the whole wide world, going to the World Wide Web, picking us up on places like X, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, our own website, rightsidemedia.org, and then all you podcasters who catch it after the fact. The bottom line is, we know you're out there. We know where you're catching the show, and we know the fact that you do it means that we get to do it again tomorrow, and we thank you. We appreciate you. You're the reason why we do it. I got a ton of text messages. I'm going to scroll way down and work my way back up to the newest. So starting way back in the show, I say we heard earlier, we made a brief note of the fact that apparently The View is going off air for a while. We don't understand. I mean, if you've got any knowledge of this, JP, you're welcome to chime in, but they're just
That's all they've said. They've taken a break, and tomorrow's their last show before taking that break.
Who does that?
Somebody who's getting canceled but doesn't want to say they're getting canceled. That's exactly what that is.
Anyway, The View appears to be going off the air. Ken from Harvest just checked in. He says, replace The View with Have Gun, Will Travel, keeping with the Western theme. I like it. I like it lots.
Or Dead Air would literally be better than The View.
It was dead air the whole time.
That's true.
Jeff from Athens says, if The View goes away, who will Gutfeld make fun of then? Holy cow, pun intended. Wow. John from Huntsville had checked in earlier and said, JP, I just laughed incredibly hard when you said that Jimmy Fallon's show is not that political. Have you seen his shows? Because every single night, at least 75% of his opening joke monologue is him bashing Trump, and he does other stuff that bashes Trump. And then on top of that, he's also had Joe Biden as a guest and many other Democrat politicians. The dude is terrible, needs to go.
Okay, well, I admit I haven't watched Jimmy Fallon like that recently, but there's a difference between making fun of Trump and doing what Colbert did and having dances with the vaccine needles and stuff like that. If you want to make jokes about Trump, that's one thing. But I would say that's different than what Colbert was doing. Colbert was propagandizing.
Colbert was also losing money for the network. They were 40 million in the hole on his show, and it had tanked in the ratings to the point that they had half the viewership that they used to have, and they could tell that. That's actual numbers. So he can argue that this is political, and they could say, here are the metrics. Paul from Huntsville says, Phil, Paul from Huntsville, how is Obama and top cabinet meeting to plan how to undermine the presidency of Donald Trump not a conspiracy? I didn't say it wasn't. It is a conspiracy.
I think he was just saying in general.
Oh, he was asking. It was okay. He was being rhetorical.
Yeah.
I would agree. Absolutely. In fact, when I cited the provision of 18 U.S. Code earlier, the portion that I recited was the conspiracy to commit sedition or subversion activities. Dave from Capshaw says, whenever I hear Whoopi Goldberg speak, all I hear is a whoopee cushion. Ooh, give the man some applause or something. That was funny. That was funny. Michael from Moulton said, oh, wait, what we got? He sent me two things, but he says the second message is the one. So the second message is, I'm thankful for Hulk Hogan, he says, because when it came crashing down and it hurt inside, he took a stand because it didn't help to hide. If you hurt his friends, then you hurt his pride. It didn't help to hide. He would lend a hand. He would not hide. That's a snippet from his Ring intro music. Thank you for quoting all that. He says, side note, Savannah Chrisley thinking running for Senate in 3 years is not realistic. I think her comment is a bit mistaken. I have not heard this. That was a bit off topic.
Yeah, there's been a rumor that she's thinking about running.
Really?
Yeah.
What state?
Georgia.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I guess anybody's better than Ossoff and Warnock, who they have.
Well, that is absolutely true. Warnock always strikes me as a cartoon image.
However, I would think that Georgia would be able to find up a better option than Savannah Chrisley. But maybe that was part of the pardon deal of we'll pardon your parents and then we'll help you run for Senate. I don't know.
Well, that means she's getting everything.
That's true.
I don't know. David from Huntsville says, how can it be that CNN and the rest of the mainstream news are wrong on everything, even if by accident they have to have some things reported correctly? Well, they do occasionally. They have the time up on the screen. Jerry from Decatur says, by the way, I will say this. I have enjoyed my time at CNN, and I'm going back next week.
I was about to say, I wonder if they hear you bashing them, if they'll rescind their offer.
Well, I'm just bashing the liberal side.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will be back on CNN in studio up there next week. I think it's Friday the 1st. I'll be in New York City on CNN Newsnight with Abby Phillip, which I really enjoyed last time. I did. Jerry from Decatur says, now I'm really looking forward to your next stint on CNN after Tulsi's revelations. Go get them, Phil. Proud of you. Airborne. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate you. Airborne all the way. Matt from Madison says, the well thought out way that Tulsi Gabbard is laying out her case should be an example for the DOJ and the FBI as to how to proceed with the Epstein mess. Okay. I'm not arguing that. And I appreciate it. Jeremy from Madison said, I think I would accept public admittance of guilt and admittance of deception of the American people by the Democrat Party from Obama over more lies and jail time. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get that.
How about both? An apology, and then we arrest you.
So a mea culpa in front of the judge as he pleads for mercy while the sentencing is coming down. Is that what you're saying?
Essentially. But
Okay.
this is obviously not going to happen.
Okay. We'll just wait and see.
It's
but
fun. It's fun to think
I
about.
suspect you're probably right.
Yeah.
Joe in Tennessee, what did he send me? He sent me a meme. So the word came out today that apparently Biden is getting millions of dollars for his memoir. Yeah. So the meme from the Babylon Bee, just sent it to me by Joe from Tennessee, says Biden's excited to see what AutoPen comes up with for his memoir.
I can't think of anything I'd want to read less than Joe Biden's memoir.
Does Joe even know it's being done?
And then on this day, I went to bed at 3:30 to milk and cookies and watched the.
No joke.
Yeah.
No joke. I got it.
Because every day with you get briefed on the such and the, you know how. Come on, man. You know.
Will there be an entire chapter devoted to Corn Pop? Corn Pop's a bad dude. Carried a chain.
And then Corn Pop came in and we sat down and had a good talk. Corn Pop's a good guy. You knew him back in the day.
Back in the day. He's a bad dude, though. He carried a chain. Tammy from Huntsville says Fauci lied. That's all she says. Fauci lied. Thank you. Yep. There you go. And Benghazi's not going away. There you go. Adam from Athens says, I'm blessed to say Movement Church is my home, and Pastors Seth and Lori are amazing people. I am glad to hear it, Adam. Hope to see you there Monday night. Yeah, so what he's talking about is we just a minute ago announced that on Monday night, this coming Monday night, July 28th, at Movement Church in Madison, there is a town hall meeting to get to know, basically to talk about the things we love as Rightside Ruffians, but also Jared Hudson, candidate for Senate. I'll be moderating a time with him for the crowd to get to know him. So it's him coming to an event. I've been asked to come in as a moderator, and I'm looking forward to it. Moms for Liberty, one of the sponsors, Movement Church, one of the sponsors, and I think that's very cool. We got a brand spanking new person in the text line. Who is it? Is it Beth? Is that her name? Did you already? Okay, need to get her plugged in there, brother. I think I'm looking at it right. Am I seeing this? All right, we'll catch it. But I do think Beth is new in the text lines, and we're glad you're there. Marvin from Addison says, hey, Senator Phil, I sent you a video of Hulk Hogan getting baptized in the Messenger. Awesome. Thank you very much. I just saw something written on that a few moments ago on social media during the break. And yeah, Hulk Hogan did apparently have a conversion experience, came to know the Lord in the last, 6 months? How long has it been? It's been pretty recent, wasn't it? JP?
It was fairly recent. I don't know the exact date.
Yeah, but then he was actually baptized. And can you imagine trying to lower him down to the water and get him back up?
I'm watching the video of it right now. And, it's pretty funny. That's 18 months ago he got baptized.
Okay.
Him and his wife both. So
that's awesome. That's good. Jeff from Indiana says, I feel the reason why they're trying to pin him with treason is because it doesn't have any statute of limitations, but I think they should waive the statute of limitations because the people who did this or was the ones that should have turned this in for being prosecuted, but since they were behind, they held off as long as they could, so they waived statute of limitations like New York State did against Trump. Well, New York State changed the statute of limitations so they could get Trump. That's exactly why they did it. They did it just to be able to bring charges. But the question of statute of limitations, if you heard Jay Town a moment ago, I thought he made a very cogent point. The statute runs from the most recent offense under the issue involved. And he points out that I think it's either Clapper or Brennan gave testimony about things related to this overall picture in just like 2022, 24, somewhere in there. So we may be seeing something that the statute hasn't even run yet. Fritzy from Huntsville checking in says, Colonel, you think you could do a Bitcoin dipper sometime in the future and talk through, simplify that genius bill they passed? How will you react financially? And what are experts saying as laymen should be doing? I'll tell you what, brother, I would like to do that. It would have to be a guest coming on to educate me, because I will not try to portray myself as being the guy who understands Bitcoin. To me, Bitcoin still feels like monopoly money.
We need to do some research on a good crypto. I'm pretty much lost on it as well. On a good crypto guy to have come on. If anybody out there knows a good crypto guy that you follow or something,
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Why don't you check with the folks at Inspire Advisors?
That's a good idea.
See if they can come on and give any financial advice on Bitcoin. That would be. You check with them? All right, good. I have now delegated. All right, John from Lexington says, Honey Boo Boo for Senate. Something has happened. Now I can't read the conversation. Okay, hang on a second. Honey Boo Boo for Senate, he says. Honey Boo Boo? That's not even, I don't know where to go with that. Stephen from Athens says, Phil, do you know Randy Cash? Stephen, that is so random. I'm not sure how to go with this now, but if I did, I wouldn't just announce on the air because I'm not sure what you're going to say in response. David from Bucky's. Phil, thanks for the prayers for all the and from all the ruffians. As I was typing this, I got this update. Okay, so first of all, let me back up. Earlier in the show, one of our regular texters, who I actually went and sought out because he works at Bucky's near Athens. I actually sought him out one time. I walked around asking everybody who had a name tag if they were David, and I finally found him. But David at Bucky's texted in earlier to talk about a surgery of a family member, and so I prayed online for Lori. Her name is Lori. And here's the quote. He said, they just finished the front side of her neck. Now they're going to flip her over to the back side of her neck. I'll provide you updates as soon as I get them. Since I work from 10 to 7, I won't be listening to the show live, but we'll definitely catch up with the podcast. Thanks to you, and thanks to all the ruffians out there. So, David, you keep us posted, man. And if you could, check in tomorrow and let us know how that went. We appreciate you, man. Kimball from Harvest says, Phil, I saw Stephen Colbert broadcast a show from Iraq in 2009, and he was fantastic. Very talented, quite a singer. And he had some of the troops perform on the show. It was hilarious and very uplifting to the soldiers. It was also totally apolitical. And if he had stuck with that formula, he'd probably still have a show. I agree, man. I really do. I'm wondering if they're going to get back to the idea of doing it like Jay Leno or Johnny Carson used to do. And I'm not just saying, well, back in my day, it was better. What I'm saying is they did exactly that. Across the board, they made jokes about anybody and everybody. Nobody was offended because everybody was the subject. At the same time, they also made you feel like life was okay. And they also, at the same time, made you feel completely entertained and you wanted to tune in for more. And we didn't always have that these days. And then last one, Mike from Florence says, the panel of The View tried getting Cialis to sponsor the show, but viewers saw no results while watching the show. That is so awful. And I have to go to a break on that now. I cannot believe I read that without even reading it first. That's the problem with going live with you people. Mike from Florence, take a time out. All right. Hey, we're taking all the time out. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, we when we
the first time you ever flew?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we left the original camp and moved to another bigger camp for 3 months, and there we were examined by the doctors and X-ray our lung to make sure we don't have TB. Some of us did have TB, and so it took a little bit longer to be on medication to get rid of it before we came to America. So we were there 3-4 months there on medications and make sure that we're healthy before we entered the U.S. So, and then we flew to Singapore. No, they took us to Singapore by boat, and we stayed there another week behind an enclosed camp there. Just to get us ready to come to America. And then there we flew to Seattle, Washington. That was the gateway.
Okay.
And then from there to Dallas, I think, and then Dallas to Huntsville International Airport.
So what was your first impression of the real America? I mean, what's the first thing that you, like looking back on it, what was the first thing that really struck you? I am in America. What did you see or hear or smell or feel?
Airport.
The airport? Okay.
And there was this lady at the airport walking around with a basket of big red, delicious apples. And I remember the smell of the apple and the look of the apple. We get apple in Vietnam, but they're all bruised and everything because they're shipped from somewhere, you know. But this was like so perfect. And I'm thinking, America is going to be like that red, delicious apple.
Wow.
Everything is perfect. Everything smells so good. You know, that was my first impression of America.
It's you know, again, it's one of those things where I think sometimes we take for granted where we are. Mm-hmm. It is way too easy for Americans, having always lived in the first world, mm-hmm. to really appreciate what we have until you go somewhere and realize what they don't have. Yeah. But you came from just the opposite. You came from a period of time where your family had everything, then you lost everything, mm-hmm. and had literally nothing, and now you're here.
Yeah,
and red apples made a difference.
Yeah, literally. I don't think we even have a penny to our name when we came to America. We have nothing left.
Well, that brings up a point. So you came to America, but then what? I mean, so did they give you a job, a house? So now what? You've been sponsored, but what does that mean?
Yeah. So when we when we got to Athens, Alabama, the community of Athens, and our sponsor provide us an apartment, a furnished apartment. And I remember seeing it for the first time. I remember take my shoes off and feel that carpet under my feet. It was so luxurious.
Wow.
And having flush toilet.
Oh, wow.
We didn't have to squat
to
use the toilet. Running water, washer and dryer, soft beds. I remember open that refrigerator that was full of food.
Oh, they stocked the refrigerator for you too.
Yes. I remember seeing chicken in there that I didn't have to chase after, killed and plugged and cleaned.
Wow.
And gosh, I remember that bed was so soft that even one of my cousin, the boy, he was just 3 years old. And because he's got used to sleeping on the hard floor in the refugee camp, that he couldn't handle the soft bed. So every morning we would go wake him up. He'd be sleeping on the floor next to the bed.
Wow.
A different family come every single week to take us to the store, to take us to the health department, to take us to the dentist, enrolled us kids in school. They came taught us English.
So they didn't just sponsor your trip. They sponsored your family to live.
Yes.
Wow.
To help us be successful.
Was this out of one church or was this a group of friends? What was this?
It was that family, and they included their friends and two churches. Mr. Van Kirk was a Presbyterian. Mrs. Van Kirk was a Catholic. So they had two churches involved.
Okay.
And then, of course, their family and their friends also. So it was not like a government program. It was just the people in the community rallying.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower. Giving you all the truth you can slap on a bumper sticker. Pulling pins on truth grenades. Bulletproof influence. What else have I got? Oh, yeah. Saving the world one soundbite at a time. I just felt like saying all of them. Every one of those is original. You're allowed to use them, but you have to credit Right Side Radio is where you heard it. So we got a few minutes left. I know that Jeff from Indiana is not going to be able to call in today, so that makes me rather sad. But I'll bounce back by saying JP just pulled up an amazing clip. So if you did not see it, I think one of the most epic stories of the day is going to wind up being that Trump went over to the Fed. Now, can you imagine this? Jerome Powell and Trump do not get along. Trump has openly been calling for his head, basically wants him to quit his job, talking about him, how he's not a smart man, yada, 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 and asking for the rates to be lowered. So Trump decides to go over and just visit the Fed today. But he's not just visiting the Fed. He's doing something that I didn't know was going on that apparently JP knew was going on. Is the Fed is in the middle of a construction of a new facility. Y'all, I do not know. This is like one of Saddam's palaces or something. This is unbelievable. How much did you say it's costed to build this place?
Well, so the original price that was out there was $2.5 billion. But then the clip I'm about to play, Trump is actually saying how it's actually more. It's actually $3.1 billion.
You could build the state of Florida for that.
Yeah. I mean, my initial radical reaction is, why do we need the Fed in the first place? But then let alone $3.1 billion to upgrade a bank.
What are you getting for $3.1 billion? Is it everything made of marble and gold?
I saw a tweet yesterday. I couldn't find it, but it had a list of a bunch of stuff they were adding. And one of them was a rooftop garden. And it's like,
are these the hanging gardens of Babylon?
Yeah, it's like, okay, the Federal Reserve needs a rooftop garden. Yeah, I'm sure they do.
That's what they're doing. They're building Babylon. That's exactly what they're doing. Okay, Nebuchadnezzar has got a new palace, and it's in Washington, D.C., apparently.
It's the Federal Reserve.
It's the Federal Reserve.
That's crazy.
$2.5 billion. Although, okay, so here's the thing. Trump, in classic Trump style, went, and to use the phrase that I've been wearing out on the show, he took receipts.
Yeah, literally.
So at some point, he apparently made mention, no, it's actually costing more than that, knowing full well what was going to happen, because it's already awkward and uncomfortable for Jerome. It's the most awkward looking. I mean, Jerome Powell's having to walk right next to him, hating life. And at one point, Jerome Powell steps off to the side to Trump to talk to the cameras. And Trump goes, no, come back over here, and brought him back into camera view so he couldn't be out of the view. And then he mentioned the fact that it's costing a lot more than what they've been saying, which what they were saying was already a lot, $2.5 billion. And Jerome Powell tries to deny it, at which point, for those of you who can't see it, I'll just tell you right now, Trump reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out a document and says, no, here's what it costs. You got a sound clip on this? How long is it?
About a minute.
Okay, play it.
It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Oh, God. He pulls it out of his jacket.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1.
3.2. This came from us?
Yes.
This came from us, yes.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added.
Our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no,
including the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use, but no, we don't. We expect to be finished in 2027. We're well along, as you can see.
You took off his
Nice to take these off every once in a while when we're not in.
Holy crap. So first of all, I'll be honest with you. I don't mind us having facilities that make you feel like we've got something going on, right?
Yeah.
Like the new state house they're building in Montgomery. I worked in the old state house. It was awful. It was abysmal. So I am fine with having a facility that when you walk in the door, people go, oh, what a great place to work. And oh, by the way, it looks like we have something going on. $3.1 billion worth of new, and by the way, he's going, well, that's the Martin building. We built that, what, 5 years ago. 5 years ago. So you're still building more?
Yeah.
You finished.
Well, we spent that $500 million then. We're not spending it now. Oh, okay. That's cool.
And then, yeah, okay. And then Trump just very slyly says, I hope you're not going to have any more cost.
I love how he just, goes, well, and just pulls it out slowly out of his jacket.
God. This is funny, not funny. Woo. Okay, listen, we'll probably talk about this tomorrow. But hey, by the way, do not forget, you guys, there's more of us than there are them. And God is still very much on his throne. Yeah, y'all stay in the fight. We'll see you tomorrow.